Real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the line 90.7 FM. Our guest today is a popular English liberal political YouTuber, former UKIP MEP candidate, honorary member of the Banned from Twitter and now Patreon club, and speaker at Turning Point USA at Penn State's The Censored event on October 23rd, SARGON of AKKAD. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on. I've been, like I said, following you for about I'd say about 2 years. It was around the election time was when I started listening to you. But from what I understood, you started off with YouTube kind of as a side thing. I don't know if I have that correct. But how did you go from basically just an average British citizen to this massive political YouTuber now with almost 1 million subscribers?
I wish I knew. It just kind of happened. I just kept talking about things that bothered me, and I don't know. It just kind of. I don't know. I didn't do anything deliberately. It was all unintentional. But yeah, no, it's just been a strange journey. It's been a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it has to be. I always ask that question of all of our guests because we've had Mike Cernovich, Milo Yiannopoulos, a few other people on the show, and it's always interesting to see where people have gone from and then where they end up now.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't intentional. It was all accidental. But, I'm happy with how it's all gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been talking to your assistant, Kayla, about this, but the college Democrats here are calling for our chapter to be defunded and shut down for hosting you at our event. And really? I think it's rather interesting that they say in the letter, their statement they put out, they basically say, and I'm not even stretching this or exaggerating it, they say, well, we don't want to deter anyone from coming to see Sargon. We don't want to stop them, but we just want to shut down the entire club hosting him.
How kind of them. I mean, they could have been saying, shut it down.
and of course, it's an event called The Censored, so there's the added unintentional irony there. But what do you think of all this? What are your thoughts on it?
I don't think there's anything such as violent words, which was the description that they put in their little letter. Mm-hmm. It strikes me as just childish partisanship. If you want the right to speak anywhere, then surely you've got to extend that right to other people. And if you don't, then you're not very liberal, are you?
No. The United Socialists signed off on that, and the National Honor Society for Political Science, which that was the big one for me. That's pretty bad.
I thought they were supposed to be like neutral. Aren't they supposed to be a neutral club?
Yeah, but Sargon's a Nazi, so it's okay, right?
According to left-wingers. But the main issue is that they know that I know what they're about. And most people don't. Most of what they achieve and what they do is essentially predicated on stealth. They don't really want people to know just how radical they are. And they are indeed radical.
Yeah. Well, with all that said, though, what is your main goal of this speaking event? What do you hope to come out of it?
I guess I just want to be able to speak my mind. I think that there are probably a few people who want to hear. And I think that, since I was invited, I think I should be allowed to speak. I mean, I don't have a criminal record or anything like that. So I don't really know, everything they point to is this person has offended me. Mm-hmm. Well, good. That was rather the point. So, but yeah, I mean, I've never committed a crime, so.
But kind of shifting gears a little bit, I was following you ever since probably 2012, right around when, the big Gamergate thing happened. And you were probably one of the first major YouTubers to really bring it up. I know there was a couple others who talked about it, but you were the one, I think, who really sort of started the whole thing. Now, did you ever think, Gamergate would take off the way it did?
Back then, I didn't really know the scope of what was going on, and everything was new, and I mean it was very exciting, to be honest. Looking back at it, everything was very surprising. You never knew what was going to happen the next day, so I didn't really have any long-term thoughts or predictions on it because I was just taking it a day at a time, and I guess I still am, to be honest.
Do you think that like Gamergate itself will have lasting political repercussions? Like, and do you think it actually had an influence on, at least in America, the 2016 elections, maybe even across the world? I know there's been a lot of more right wing parties in Europe. I don't follow European politics all that much, but do you think any of that sort of was the result of Gamergate?
No, I think Gamergate was a more localized affair within video gaming, um, but I do think that it I do think it kind of showed people that you really have to stand up to this kind of bullying, otherwise they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep on going. Um, so I think that's definitely the main positive I think that's come out of it.
I know, like, I used to be an active user of 4chan stuff, and like right around that time, I noticed there was a lot more. I don't want to say necessarily right wing, but like people who didn't really, you were seeing what the social justice crowd was doing right around the time that Gamergate kind of took off. And I
Yeah.
don't know, do you think it would be, it's something that, maybe in 50 years you'll start seeing in like textbooks or something as like a footnote or a
Well, it's
whole.
already being taught about in universities, and you can imagine what that narrative looks like.
Do you
Very,
think
very much the pro social justice narrative that gets taught about it. But that's okay.
Or do you think there will be any other sort of events like that possibly in the future? Like I know comics and like especially comics. There's another YouTuber I think who does a lot with that, and movies in general. They have a lot of the same
Mm.
sort of left wing influence on there.
Yeah, there's already Comicsgate going on at the moment, which is it's become essentially a parallel industry, um, because the comics industry is a slow death, and it's not even slow actually, because of the introduction of social justice ideology into a realm where nobody wanted it, no one was asking for it. And there's a chap called the Fourth Age, a YouTuber called Fourth Age, who's also a comics writer and involved with it, and he went through the history of the people who were involved, and the one of the main activists who engaged in it wasn't involved in comics at all, but was deliberately hired by Marvel, by SJW at Marvel, specifically with the aim of, well, not doing comics, doing something else. And so this is why all of these comics are essentially dying. They end up creating pro social justice comics, and nobody buys them. So these things get shut down. You can see it. You can see it happening with the adaptations on. I guess we'd call it TV, but the serial adaptations, like the Batwoman one. At the moment,
Yeah.
it had nearly 2 million viewers on the first episode, and then it's dropped down to less than 1.5 million, and then down to about 1 million. So, I mean, it's tangible how these things don't have the traction that they should, because this has had major advertising backing all over the place, billboards, all that sort of thing. But it's just not gaining the interest that I imagine they would hope it would have.
And what's interesting is the Joker movie, which I saw your review of, and I thought was very well done. That has gained audience acclaim. Yeah, that's going to be a new phrase now, audience acclaim, but critical acclaim is nowhere to be seen. Critics are trashing it, and I'm not going to lie, I'm still confused why. Why do some critics hate that movie so much?
That's a good question. Actually, it's not as universally panned by the critics as what you might think.
True.
Because of the honestly staggeringly good quality of the movie. The storytelling in it is fantastic, and it is a compelling narrative. So it's kind of hard to actually condemn it in the way that you can tell that the critics would like to do. They have to give it credit for its technical achievements, which is really quite surprising considering it was done by a comedy director who did, like The Hangover and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's managed to pull off such an impressive, technically and artistically impressive film is frankly a shock. But the reason is that they thought the film was going to have something to do with the phenomenon of incels. For anyone who doesn't know, that means involuntary celibate, as in virgins, people who can't get laid. Why these are the primary enemy of the left at this point, I don't really know. But I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, and I won't even try.
Oh, yeah.
In the time that we've got now. But the film is not about that at all. It's about someone with mental health not getting the help that they need.
Yeah.
And you would think that the sort of left wingers would be more sympathetic to that. That surely that would be, they're the party of compassion and whatnot. So surely that would have it would resonate somewhat with them. But no, apparently not. And the funny thing is, they've done this before with the It movies. For some reason, they were taking Pennywise the clown as an ally, like an LGBT ally.
Well, they're gonna add a C for clowns in it now.
Clown world.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, okay, hang on, let's stop and think about this. Pennywise is the villain of the piece.
Yeah.
I mean, the Joker's an anti-hero, so it's not, the Joker isn't evil. And he's certainly not like Heath Ledger's Joker, but Pennywise is obviously actively evil. He's like a demon or something. But he mocked someone for being gay in the second one or something. I haven't actually seen it because I'm not really that into it. But this caused a flood of left-wing outlets to write articles saying, "Oh God, Pennywise isn't the ally we thought he'd be." It's like, why are you identifying with the villains? It's so strange.
Well, they connect with Antifa a lot too here. And like, they're supposed to be like, Antifa is supposed to be all about anti-fascism, and you wouldn't think that that'd be like violence, but they're like the most violent club here in this country. Every time you see a protest happen, there's usually Antifa blasting someone, chucking milkshakes and all that craziness.
Well, Sargon's been milkshaked here.
I have, but to be honest with you, it's always a good thing. I don't see any problem with being milkshaked. To be honest, it's kind of a badge of honor because what it means essentially is that they literally have nothing left to say. Yeah, they're completely out of arguments, and they know it, and so they resort to violence. It's not a particularly harsh form of violence, and let's be honest, if you're going to have violence done to you, better a milkshake than something else.
Yeah,
but it's the end of the road. It's the point where they say, "Look, I'm done. I can't argue anymore. You win, I lose."
When I saw that, I was like, well, if they could milkshake me, could they at least milkshake me with a Sonic shake? And like, I don't want to get milkshaked with a McDonald's shake. That's like powder and water. At least Sonic, they have ice cream in their stuff, man. Come on. At least I could get some flavor out of this thing, right? No, so we obviously we can't, have you on here without at least talking a little bit of British politics. I know.
horrific.
I'm sorry in advance. Boris Johnson.
Fabulous.
They're trying to push a Brexit deal. What do you think of his plan? And do you see Brexit actually happening?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's completely up in the air at the moment. The way the negotiations have been happening is that they've delivered all of the decision-making power to the European Union, which is ironic considering they keep so it's quite a complex situation. So in Britain, we don't elect a president, we elect our local MPs, and then local MPs, 650 of them, and then the MPs form parties or belong to parties, and then a party that has enough MPs elected to form a majority can form a government, and then they can govern the country. So the Conservatives were in a coalition with a party called the DUP from Northern Ireland, and they together held a majority. And during the course of the Brexit issue, several something like 20 Conservative MPs defected and became either independent or joined the Liberal Democrat Party, which are effectively the anti-democracy party in my country at the moment. And they're trying to overturn the Brexit referendum. So so this puts the government in a difficult position, because if they want to pass legislation through the parliament, they need to have a majority vote on it. And if they've got a minority and the parliament is split between two distinct lines with no middle ground, it's either Remain or Leave, and the Leave faction are in the minority, that means the Remain side can pass whatever they want, and the Leave side can pass nothing. And so the Parliament has effectively been holding the government hostage by refusing to have a general election, because Boris would undoubtedly be able to form a majority if an election was called, because 2/3 of the constituencies of the United Kingdom voted to leave and 3/4 of the MPs voted to stay. So the Parliament doesn't represent the people. They are holding the government hostage. We can't have an election. And so Boris is just getting ground into the dirt. Naturally, this has got the full complicity of the European Union, because they benefit entirely. They get to make all the decisions in this regard, so they get to weigh everything in their own favor. But we also pay them over £1 billion a month for the privilege. So, I mean, I'm very, very frustrated with Brexit at the moment, and the situation in my country in general. So
that's pretty understandable. Yeah, and I noticed that I think it was about in May, you finally took actions into your own hands, decided, hey, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to step into it. What did you learn from your experience running for office?
I learned that there is absolutely no depth that the media won't sink to in order to smear your character. That's the primary thing. They revel in it. They were open about that that's what they were going to do, and they were very happy to do it. And it didn't matter that they were lying, because they're relying on the fact that they've got lawyers who can frame what they're saying in a particular way, so that if you were to take them to court, they would say, well, they're just reporting a rumor or something, or someone said that something, and it would require a huge amount of money to sue these people. And so they effectively can get away with it. And I mean, it's not a problem for me, because I've got a large audience, I've got a lot of reach, so I can, sort of swing back at them and defend myself. But the average person in the public just cannot do that.
Yeah.
And so you realize just people should really think about this. Like, if the media pop up a figure that you've never heard of and essentially tell you nothing but negative things, they're effectively encouraging you to hate that person and creating hate figures in this way. And you should be very suspect of that, because why would a press that should be responsible do such a thing? It's a very unethical thing to do. And so people should be wary of that sort of thing. It's being done to protect status rather than to promote truth.
Well, the thing I noticed, and kind of goes off on that a bit, is I saw Nigel Farage in a clip basically kind of condemn you in a way. And here's the thing about that. I've met Nigel. He seems like a really nice, pleasant guy. I personally feel he doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even know if he knew the comments you made in the past, the context of it. I think somebody told him about this or told him what to say. Like, have your opinions of Farage changed, or do you know why he said that? I'm honestly confused.
Yeah, so the Brexit Party is a politically correct party, and I'm not a politically correct commentator, and so
what? No, sorry. Get out of here.
Do you know who Catherine Blakelock is?
No.
She is the lady who was the head of the Brexit Party before Nigel Farage. She stepped down because some journalists went through her Twitter feed and found a comment she had made about Islam 5 years ago, and Nigel Farage succeeded her because he insisted that she step down. It's a politically correct party. They don't talk about anything but Brexit, and you can't. And if you have talked about things that are not Brexit in the past, then you can potentially see yourself removed from your position. So that's essentially what it was. And because Nigel Farage essentially was like, oh no, I disagree with these horrible jokes, because it was a comedy reel that they were objecting to.
Yeah,
and mischaracterizing. In fact, this is what I mean. It's it was a blooper reel of jokes. And the whole point, under it, I'd written, don't take these jokes seriously, BuzzFeed. But they did anyway, because they can misrepresent people. But ironically, Nigel Farage found himself doing the same thing with the press. When he had said at a comedy night that he had been hosting, that he would don khaki and resume, return to the front lines and pick up a rifle. And so he was forced to use the defense I was forced to use against him, against the press, as if to prove there is just no point trying to appease the press. They're not looking to be honest. They have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty nuts, especially for someone who claims not to be a politician to like act so much like a politician and play those politically correct games. But speaking of these sort of Twitter things, I know that you've been banned from Twitter, Patreon, just tons of these like big tech companies. How do you think that how's big tech censorship affected you?
Luckily, I'm quite flexible, so it hasn't been too much of a problem. There are alternatives to these platforms, and my audience is willing to use them, so I'm okay. But I imagine that a lot of people aren't in that position, especially if you're a smaller user of social media. So if it happens to you, you could just find yourself with no voice and no recourse. There's no way you can really appeal it. If they decide, no, that's it, we don't like you, you can go, then you're gone, and that's for life.
That's scary. We've had our own bats with censorship. Thankfully, not on YouTube or anything. But we had an incident on the radio a couple months ago where someone accidentally said something. We were down for several months, but we were able to get back on from that. But I know you mentioned these alternative tech platforms. Do you see them having any major success, or do you feel that the powers that be, the banks, the various other organizations are able to knock them down?
Many of them have managed to make themselves cancel proof, because when I was Patreon, which was totally unfair because what I'd done was not on their platform. It wasn't even on my platform, and what I was doing is insulting Nazis. So it seems rather strange to be punitive about such a thing. But it was political. And so I went to a platform called Maker Support. And what was interesting is that Stripe decided they would pull their payment processing ability from that platform purely because I had begun using it, which really made the whole thing look like cartel behavior. It's definitely something that people are going to have to deal with at some point in the future. But there are alternatives that are not based in Silicon Valley and so are not beholden to the sort of nature of their political activism, because that's what this is.
What are some of your? Do you have any examples of those?
Yeah, I use Subscribestar as a replacement for Patreon now. It's very good. It's a very good platform. Works just fine. I use Telegram instead of Twitter, which is just fine again. I actually find it more convenient, and it's a lot less toxic than Twitter. So I think Twitter is very good at bringing out the worst in absolutely everyone. And I think Jack Dorsey is aware of this as well, but there's very little he can do, because if he changes the fundamental nature of the platform, then nobody's going to use it, and people are going to complain. But I think it is genuinely doing damage to the political discourse. I think it's actually damaging the journalistic class. I think because they all follow each other on Twitter, pass around the same information, and I think it's turning them into, I don't know, just a kind of weird, isolated cult in many ways.
I wanted to ask because, I know a lot of these like big tech companies, they're more for profit more than anything, and
Yes.
and so with that said, they're I guess I know with Twitter and a lot of these guys, they want to do business more abroad with China and Europe. What do you think? Who do you think, or what side of the globe do you think has more of an impact on what they're doing? Does Europe, because Europe has they have their EU regulations and they're kind of really they're a little bit more strict, but China, obviously they have their the people, and
so the European Union is currently trying to flex its muscles in Silicon Valley, and you can tell that Silicon Valley is not happy about this at all. they actively campaigned against Article 13. But the thing with the European Union is, if it's in their interest, they'll just do it. You don't get much of a choice. So there wasn't too much to be surprised about in that regard. But you can see that China is emerging as a primary market for many, many, many different corporations, because it's huge. I mean, there are literally billions of people there. So companies are looking at that and thinking, well, this is a giant amount of profit that we can make, and it is. They just have to bow down before the Chinese government, and the Chinese government is essentially a fascist state. They're very ethno-nationalist. They believe that all Chinese people should be under their control. They are actively operating gulags in which they re-educate people and essentially indoctrinate them to become Chinese. It's a form of ethnic cleansing. And these are brutal. Some of the survivors and escapees of these are very, very horrible stories. They're obviously going to be this. They're actively suppressing the Hong Kong protests. Some of those activists are turning up dead. They are generally what one would consider they're a command economy as well. So they're actively organizing their economy and setting up trade routes all across the East in order to essentially circumvent Western pro-Western areas like India and essentially colonizing Africa. And I think that there's a good argument to be made that they're essentially trying to reestablish their position in the world after experiencing what they call the century of humiliation. Which, I mean, you can't blame them, but what they're doing is by foul means, because they've got a huge labor pool of citizens that they keep obedient by using a social credit system, which is terrifying. If you fall below a certain rank in this social credit system, you can't fly, you can't take trains, you can't travel, so you're effectively trapped. You're bound to have problems getting work as well. And this affects your friends too. So people around you will be affected if you do something that the Chinese government like. It is honestly dystopian. And the NBA and all of these other Google are currently creating software for them that will help them do this more effectively. It's awful. And the West is totally complicit in this because all of these companies are making money.
Yep.
Yeah, do you think that we could have anything like that in the West in the next, near like next 10, 20 years, like a social credit system come over here?
I would be surprised if we didn't, to be honest.
Wow.
Honestly, it's convenient for the powers that be. That's the problem.
So on the topic of just, traveling foreign lands, so on the brighter side of it, this is more focused on the U.S. My question to you would be, what do you like about the U.S. that you wish the U.K. had? And what do you like about the U.K. that you wish the U.S. had?
I like the fact that you have a First Amendment, and I wish that we had something similar, because we have thousands of people a year arrested, prosecuted for posts on social media. So that's a bit concerning to me, and I would rather it didn't happen. So that's definitely something that I wish the UK had. So what do I wish that the US had that the UK has? Tea, probably.
Well, we have tea.
It's really
it's just
difficult
not
getting
good.
a nice cup of tea over here.
We have tea, but it might not be the best. It might not be as good as you guys.
You don't have a culture of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
We're coffee culture mostly.
yeah, I know, it's awful.
Yes, Starbucks owns us.
Yeah.
I think the Boston Tea Party thing a few years ago, that probably had something to do with it.
Wow, yeah, that's probably why.
Last question I have for you, because this might be a hard one to answer, but again, I've seen lots of your videos. I love all your content, but out of every video you've ever made, what is the video that you'd say you're most proud of making that just really resonated with you?
Oh, my Starship Troopers one.
Wow.
I worked really, really hard on that one because I was very, very tired of people saying, "Oh God, this is a fascist movie." And it's like, no, this is a Republican movie. You know, it's like a kind of advanced version of the American Republic that's there. They all swear allegiance to a constitution, to uphold the Constitution in the story. And Heinlein was a radical libertarian by the end of his life, and that's essentially what he was trying to lay out. It's like, look, the state should have virtually no input on your life, and the people who end up manning it essentially should be dedicated to their job. They should be a lot less interested in corruption and filling their own pockets, and more about service. I thought it was very nice to be able to give a defense of that and point out that fascism is actually the complete opposite of what Heinlein was proposing, which was like an extremely limited government. So yeah, it was a real pleasure, that video.
Well, interestingly enough, we have a guy that's going to be at our event on Wednesday that wants to get his Starship Troopers copy signed by you because he's a big fan of yours. So obviously it's had not only an impact on you, but other people as well.
Good. I'm really glad, because it was a lot of work to do, but I really am proud of it.
That's great. Awesome. So last thing I'm going to say, where can people find you, since I know you've been banned from everything? Is there any platform left that people can find you on? It's the best way to reach you and stay up to date on everything.
I'm still on YouTube. I've still got my Sargon of Akkad channel. I've got Thinkery, and I've started a new channel called Akkad Daily, where I just put up short videos about things that are happening that I want to talk about. You can follow me on Telegram, which you can just find by googling Sargon of Akkad Telegram, or on Facebook, which is just Sargon of Akkad, blog page on Facebook. It's got like 100,000 followers or something. So they're the best places.
Yeah, I love your Telegram channel. That's great. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and can't wait to see you on Wednesday. It's going to be a crazy, awesome event. There's going to be protests and all kinds of fun stuff and plans for that event. So thank you again for taking time to come on. We really appreciate it. You've been nothing but wonderful to have on.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Take it easy, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, take care.
Have a nice night. Our guest today is a young conservative YouTuber, honorary member of the Ban from Twitter Club, and speaker at Turning Point USA at Penn State's The Censored event with Sargon of Akkad on October 23rd. Hunter Avallone, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Before we begin, I want to clarify and ask a very important question.
Before that, I just want to know what your pronouns are because it's 2019 and I want to be inclusive with everyone. So could you begin telling me your pronouns?
Yes, sure. It's Your Majesty.
I actually said that in a class once when the professor asked it, and he just didn't know what to do with it.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's the best one you can use.
He's very caught off guard.
Yeah, he just sort of like went. Ooh.
You can't just get asked that question and not think of something totally silly.
Yeah.
It is true, because the people that actually like prefer different pronouns are such a minority that to apply the idea of asking everyone their pronouns before you meet them, it's just begging for memes.
Yeah, and we deliver them, that's for sure.
Definitely.
So you're probably, I'd say, one of the youngest conservative stars on YouTube. And I'm just curious, I asked this question with all of our guests on the show. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, what do you mean? Do you mean as far as my political beliefs, or do you mean just having the size of a YouTube channel that I do?
I'd actually say both, to be honest with you, because I think both can be interesting.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, most of my conservative beliefs, like, I don't know how much you know about me. I've talked a little bit about this on streams and on my channel before, but I was homeschooled and I grew up in a very like conservative Christian environment. So growing up, I was kind of set up to be a Republican. But then obviously as I've gotten older, I have my own opinions on things. One thing that I pride myself on, and this is also something that gets me a lot of controversy with both the left and the right, is I don't stick to party lines. So just if it's common for Republicans to hold one view, I'm not going to hold that view just because Republicans also hold that view, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
So I definitely started from a place of like very standard, almost like a boomer conservative Republican sort of thing, mostly because I had a lot of political influence from my grandparents, which I love them to death. And they do honestly, I have them to thank for setting me up to be so passionate about politics, but they definitely have some opinions now that I look at it. I'm like, yeah, no way. I'm not agreeing with you on that. So that's kind of how my politics developed. Just I was in a good environment. And like I said, as I've gotten older, I've kind of began forming my own opinions. I'm not too concerned anymore if like, do my opinions reflect conservative opinions or liberal opinions? Like,
Yeah.
these are my opinions and I'm going to share them, kind of thing. And as far as like actually gaining followers on YouTube, it's funny because I'm not entirely sure what I did, but I think it was a combination between, yeah, I am one of the youngest conservative channels on YouTube. I'm also one of the biggest now, which I'm very, got to pat myself on the back for that one.
Of course.
But yeah, it was a slow growth. I've been on the platform for a while, and I've experimented with a lot of content until I found the political avenue, which was by far the thing I was most passionate about. And so I think that's another reason that my subscriber count really blew up so quick, as well as the fact that I was posting content at a really good time. I began posting right when the whole anti-feminist, anti-SJW wave was just massive on YouTube.
Right. That's interesting you say that, because we've had Mike Cernovich on the show, we've had Milo Yiannopoulos, we've had Styx Hexenhammer, and when we ask them that question of like, how'd you get to where you are today, many of them like give this like, big answer of like, well, I was following my passion, or I, fight for the little guy. They all come with these reasons, but both Sargon and you have said, I don't know how it happened. I just complained about something, basically.
I'm waiting for the time that somebody tells me, well, I was in the fields of India, and I spent myself in quiet solace for 5 years before I finally really discovered myself. I'm waiting for a story like that, like some grand, like weird, like borderline weird question. I don't think I'll ever get it, but I don't know.
Yeah, unless we had the Beatles on, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, maybe not.
But since you've been banned from Twitter and temporarily suspended from YouTube, we're going to have this event on big tech censorship here on campus, but it's rather ironic that this event called The Censored is now getting censored effectively, because the college Dems have called for our chapter to be defunded and shut down for our event. What do you think of all that?
Well, I'm just curious where this is happening. I did read a few of the articles, especially the ones, dissing me. And I didn't really see any that were calling for the college Republicans to be defunded or anything. It's a statement the college Dems made on their Twitter where they literally say, and I'm not even stretching this one or twisting it or anything. They say, we don't want to prevent anyone from coming to the event, but we do want to ask the university to defund and shut down the Turning Point chapter that's hosting this event. Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, I think that there's some important distinctions to make there. I don't think that protests are the same as censorship, obviously. I do think that just if something is protested, like I'm sure our event will be protested, I don't think that's necessarily proof of censorship. Censorship, in my mind, would be if the college stepped in and shut down the event. Yeah. So, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting. I know that we should probably be expecting protesters, though. Am I correct? Yes. I don't know if I sent you the one thing. There's a graphic they created that they're going to have a, quote, teach-in on Old Main, which is like our main old-looking building here that symbolizes college. I guess they're going to explain what you guys are, call you guys Nazis and how hateful you are and all that other nonsense. And then they're going to walk all the way to the venue. And I guess they're going to stand out there and shout, you like, no Hunter, no KKK, no Fascist USA, stuff like that. And they might come in. Will I get a chance to interview them? Because I have never really been protested before. Well, that's not necessarily true. But I would just love to upload some content where I am talking to protesters. Absolutely. I love that too. I've emailed the contact we have in the administration that's helping us handle this event. She hasn't replied to me yet, but I'm going to see if it's allowed, because it deals with like campus security and all that other stuff. But I'm really going to try and make that happen. To be cool. Yeah. So I might say I'm going to warn you guys. I might have to be saying some things that you guys might not entirely agree with, though. That's perfectly fine. That's what our club's all about. We're about freedom of speech, bringing in different viewpoints. And if people don't like it, tough luck, buttercups, as we say. So they can go join the protesters. Yeah. So
when you do give your speech and engage with these protesters and do whatever you want to do at this thing, what's your main goal of this event?
Well, this there's a lot of goals that I have when I go to a live event like this. I mean, for one, the more literal goal, and I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of people won't say this, but everyone's thinking it is. There is certainly an element of publicity.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go just because I want to get a chance to see protesters, and I also want to get a chance to talk to like-minded conservatives as well. The other message I hope to convey is just my speech is going to be about the nuances of censorship and how oftentimes I'm basically going to break down where censorship is happening and where it isn't, even though a lot of the time people make sweeping generalizations that big tech is just blindly censoring conservatives, when, to be completely honest, I don't think that's the case. However, I do still think there's such thing as big tech censorship, and I just think we need to examine where the censorship is happening and where it isn't. And I do think there's a problem with a lot of conservatives playing victim and sort of attributing any difficulty they may experience with the fact that they're conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have
that's those are that's kind of the general gist of what I'm going to be speaking on. So like I said, I know it'll probably receive some mixed reviews, just because it is kind of taking a different take on things, but I also think that it'll be really good experience.
I totally agree.
So, Mr. Hunter, as someone who's now a father, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
How do you feel? And I know you've covered. I think you might have covered this in one of your other videos too. But we're trying to kind of hit our audience here. How do you feel personally now that you are a father about abortion or about like pro-choice? What do you think? What's your opinion?
Well, I mean, I've been staunchly pro-life pretty much since day one, and with having a kid, that's only further solidified my views in my pro-life ideals. Also, I mean, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. We're actually already expecting our second baby too. So
wow. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations is in order too. All right.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. No, we're both very excited, and honestly, experiencing being a dad and just experiencing having a little baby, Rose has brought so much joy to me and Carissa. Honestly, I think that it really has just further solidified my views in how heinous abortion is. And I think that, yeah, that's probably the best answer I can give you. I'm trying to think of how I could extend my answer, but I think that's probably the best response I can give you.
No.
It's just solidified how heinous I think abortion is.
Wow.
And then another thing, how being a father with another child on the way, how do you find any difficulty with what you did, you're on YouTube, you're speaking your mind, you're tackling issues. Have you found it to be difficult at all? Is there any protesting or any resistance? Is there any feelings of maybe endangerment to your child or your or the mother of your children or
Right. No, I understand. That's a totally reasonable question. To be completely honest, it hasn't been so bad. I have kept Rose kind of the way that I've I mean, obviously the public knows that I have a kid. There's pictures of her online that I've posted on my Instagram or whatnot, but I am very careful with how often I'm bringing Rose on camera, and especially as she gets older, I'm probably going to be keeping her off of camera more and more. So far there really hasn't been too much. The closest thing that's happened is this vegan channel started shitting on me, and they photoshopped pictures of my kid with as a different baby or something that I honestly found very disrespectful. It was pretty much they were dragging my kid into an argument between two adults on veganism. It was completely inappropriate. So That's probably the closest thing to what you were referring to that I've experienced. I don't really fear for, Rose's life or Carissa's life or anything like that. But I also am pretty careful with how often I bring Rose into the public eye.
Yeah, so I guess on a sort of a less darker topic, this is based on queer kids. So recently I saw your video exposing queer kids. How reflective of the current left is like Lindsay Amer slash queer kids itself or other people like that, as you say, Your Majesty?
Well, there's no way to know. Oh, thank you. There's no way to know exactly for how reflective that is as far like on the left as a whole. However, there is certainly an agenda within the left that is pushing to normalize. I wouldn't say. I think it's a bit of a hyperbolic response to say that like the left is fully embracing pedophilia or something. I think that's a little bit extreme, to be completely honest, and I think that it also is just so radical sounding that it kind of knocks out any potential of having a decent discussion. I think what is very reflective of the left, however, is the concept of trying to normalize a child's sexuality. And I think that part of what makes childhood so significant and so innocent is the fact that that's kind of a time in your life where your sexuality hasn't developed, and that's a good thing. It's good that you can go outside and you can play with boys and girls, and you're not thinking about things the way that adults think about things. You know what I mean? So I do think that it's a little bit reflective of the left as far as how queer kid stuff is coming out with these series, trying to introduce very young children. She admits that her show is directed at kids as young as 3 years old. She's creating this content that's designed for children that young, and then she's being propped up by liberal media, like the Huffington Post, for example, has shared her content repeatedly, as well as USA Today. And I think the New York Times or Washington Post may have as well. However, I would have to double check that. So, there's no way of really knowing how indicative it is of the entire left. However, there's definitely a subset of the left that does work to normalize the idea of like a child's sexuality, which I think should be off limits, and that should be developing naturally, rather than a lot of the times this queer kid stuff feels like they're almost trying to force this LGBT sort of gay sexuality agenda onto impressionable kids.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of development, there's not only that sort of development, but as we discussed at the beginning of this interview, your political development, your personal belief developments, philosophical developments. And as an atheist myself, I learned to my surprise that you were an atheist too. And you made like a Facebook post about it in I think 2017. And I was curious because I definitely have experiences with this, but what was it like, or what is it like now being an atheist in the conservative movement? And what was it like transitioning from the Christian household you grew up in into atheism?
Right. Well, no shame on being an atheist. I definitely would have myself at the time when I made that post. I consider myself an atheist. However, I'm gonna be making a video soon, kind of discussing like my further changes with things. But I think I may have moved back towards the direction of being more agnostic, just because after having a kid, as funny as it sounds, my perspective on things and on like the existence of God has changed a bit. But being more of an agnostic or atheist, I feel like your question could apply the same for as far as being in conservative spheres, especially because it's very conservative to be like Christian, right?
Yeah,
Christian
exactly.
Conservative is kind of the main thing. I found that for the most part, actually, I received pretty decent feedback from fans and from people who previously weren't fans. It was actually kind of interesting because some of the more like skeptic community, I hate calling them the skeptic community, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, like as far as YouTube. The more like atheist, skeptic, sort of liberal but still anti-feminist side of YouTube was also actually really supportive, which was cool because a lot of people on that side of things usually didn't like me very much, or they publicly like crapped on me. So it was kind of cool to see people that usually didn't like me sort of showing their support. As far as with my fans, I think, it was pretty positive message. A lot of people actually said they could relate. I did a whole video where I talked about like my sort of falling out with faith and everything. And I think part of that is because faith Christianity is depicted very emotion based. Conservatives are all about like facts over feelings, but when you start religion, it's one of the few subjects that conservatives are really emotionally invested in, and the arguments for creationism or even for Christianity are not very good. So what really came out is I wanted more compelling proof of the existence of God, or at least that like Christianity had more validity to it. And I felt that oftentimes the Christian conservative circle sort of used similar like circular logic that a lot of feminists would use. So like if I was like, how do you know God is real? They'd be like, oh, well, the Bible says so. But to me, that was no different than asking a feminist why the wage gap is real and then her saying feminist.com. Like it's kind of circular logic. So that was a lot of the flaws that I had with Christianity. And this was sort of came from, I'm basically summarizing what I detailed in that video. So if you want to check it out, it's in 2017 as well. But I mean, overall, the conservative circle, it wasn't too bad. I honestly received much more viciousness from like the conservative and even like far right, alt-right side of things when I came out in like support of gay marriage. That didn't go over too well with conservatives.
What year did you say
that? But that's
that?
still a position I'll defend.
What year did you come out and support? What year did you come out in support of gay marriage? I'm curious.
The thing is I've been it's kind of a bad thing because I'm notorious for being like a transphobe, the guy that hates trans people and has made like the video Truth About Transgenders and everything. And I get that that's controversy in my past. That's always going to come up, especially when like the events like this are being protested. I was actually just reading one of the articles talking about my speech at Penn State, and it was bringing up that same video, which is honestly, it's actually long been a deleted video now, but it's still being brought up constantly. I've kind of always been pro LGBT in the sense that like I think that America is about people being able to pursue like the pursuit of happiness. And if you're someone who struggles with gender dysphoria and you want to receive a sex change operation to alleviate that psychological distress, that's within your rights. And I think that should be respected in the sense of like, no, we're not going to go out and be complete assholes to these people, right? But I think that a lot of my views, especially starting out on LGBT stuff, weren't quite as fleshed out as I thought they were. I think that I mean, the Truth About Transgenders video I made, for example, I was 19 and I had like 5,000 subs. So pretty big difference compared to like where I was when I made that video compared to where I am now. And there are certainly still elements of even some of my most controversial videos that I still agree with, but I also disagree with some of the delivery of my old content. As far as the like vocal pro gay marriage, that wasn't all that long ago. I had a Twitter, which of course got suspended because all my Twitter accounts get suspended eventually. But basically I said that it's conservative to be pro gay marriage because you're trying to preserve people's pursuit of happiness free of government intervention. So people, my argument is people should be allowed to be gay in this country so long as it's legal and it's consensual, like legal age. So that didn't go over too well with more alt-right gang. Nick Fuentes and all of his little goons.
I'm not a fan of him at all.
Like dogpiling me on Twitter, but it was no big deal. It wasn't anything that I couldn't handle. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, we've dealt with the alt-right. They're not fun, to say the least.
No, they're not. And the thing is a lot of the alt-right is just as bad as the SJWs, and they think that they're like superior to the left, but they're pretty much just as insufferable. They're the type of people that like you come out and you're like, hey guys, I'm pro-life and I support Trump, but I don't think that like black people are genetically inferior to white people. And they're like, oh my God, I'm unsubscribing.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of people that the alt-right are.
Horseshoe theory is real.
I agree with you. I agree with you on the like the gay marriage thing. I support it. And I'm like, okay, well these gay people deserve just as much of a right as everybody else to be legally screwed in this country.
Well, the thing is,
no, that's a bad joke.
Is like there's separation of church and state, right? So a lot of the times conservative Christians are like, well, the government shouldn't be giving marriage licenses because marriage is a union between man and woman as said by God. But if you're going to go off any religious basis, then it can't be regulated by the government if you're for separation of church and state. So if the government is currently providing marriage licenses, the government should be providing marriage licenses to gay people as well. That's my take on this.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
I'll go back to religion, I guess, because this is kind of a good thing. I always felt like the Bible, because I grew up in a religious household. My foster parents were Mennonites, so they beat a lot of the Bible into me. I always felt like now that I've kind of become like an atheist or whatever, I kind of believe that the Bible is more like a storytelling. You know, like it's not so much that like God is real or whatever, but it's like one of those things where they teach you like, hey, be a good person, don't steal, don't kill, all that stuff.
It's also very cultural. Like Christianity is very it's very ingrained with like our Western values, and people like even like atheists can't deny that Christianity definitely holds some weight on Western values. Would you agree with that?
I would.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Like, there's definitely a place for Christianity and like just religion. Christianity is at least to be appreciated as far as like the molding of Western culture.
Okay, and then another add to the question. So you're like internet famous. What's the worst kind of backlash that you've gotten, like personally, like having this big career and being as successful as you are?
What's the biggest backlash? It probably was just because of two different reasons. One, it was an insane amount of backlash, and two, I was so small at the time. I mean, it was really crazy. I would wake up in the morning and just Google my name, and there'd be like new articles being written about me.
Wow.
And for a guy that I think I only had like 7,000 subs at the time, like that's crazy, you know, to post a video. I remember the video only got 16,000 views in 2 weeks. So it wasn't really getting like a ton of traction. It wasn't causing a bunch of controversy. And then all of a sudden one LGBT article dissed on it. And then from there, it just picked up and became a huge thing.
Yeah.
And that's also what sort of set me up as it kind of worked out for the best, because you'll notice that a lot of these YouTubers, they talk a tough game, but they can't really take the heat or the hate when like push comes to shove. And that's usually because they're sort of coddled. They're used to being on YouTube, being very loved and well received. So the minute they get in controversy, they don't know what to do with themselves. But for me, since I began my career with controversy, and that's pretty much what made me, like, I became famous for being a guy that like a lot of people hated.
That's why it's your tagline.
Like that sort of set me up to be much stronger and have a thicker skin online. And that's another reason why I think backlash also seems a lot smaller to me than it used to, is because I just don't notice it as much. I mean, I'll read an article shitting on me, or I'll see a post making fun of me, or even watch a video like responding to me, and I'll laugh and you know, look it over or whatever. I like my name being mentioned. Don't get me wrong, keeps me relevant, but it's not anything that I'm gonna lose sleep over. Usually I forget about hate and everything minutes after seeing it, because I have other things to worry about.
And then I think there comes a stage, I feel like I'm getting this now on this campus, where you learn to, or you grow to almost embrace it in a way and just be like, I love it. I get off on it. It's great. You know, it's
right,
weird.
You realize you get right. Cause you like, the thing is if I wasn't getting protested, I feel like I'd be doing something wrong.
Exactly. That's because what I always feel.
You need enemies. That's the thing, is the most successful people also have a pretty, like, of course you don't want to make enemies with everyone. I think that's one of the things that killed Milo's career, is he literally made enemies with everyone. But it's okay to have a healthy amount of enemies and a healthy amount of haters. And in a way, I feel like haters do keep me motivated, because then anytime I succeed, it's all the more sweeter. It's all the sweeter.
Well, speaking of infighting among like the right wing movement, as you're bringing up religion and all that kind of stuff, what are your thoughts about fake conservatives? Especially, what do you think about women like Lauren Southern and the video where you talked about Ashley St. Clair who pretend to be trad, but really aren't? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, just out of curiosity, you said Lauren Southern. Why do you
Yeah.
consider her a fake conservative? I'm not saying I agree or
Well, there was an article, we talked to Milo about this when he was on, that, and this is of course alleged, gotta make that super clear, but when she quit politics, a lot of stuff came out. It was in his article and a bunch of other people were talking about it, where it sounds like she was basically, I guess you call it ghostwriting, where she was sleeping with reporters to get them to write her speeches and write her stuff. And the way I look at it is, if you're so trad, if you're so, preaching these conservative values about the woman should be this, housewife, should be loyal, all these things, and then she goes around and does this.
Or then she was out there kind of hoeing around.
Basically, yeah. So, I mean, why, like, this is a thing I've noticed multiple times. I actually even know people personally that have done stuff like this. So it's like, what do you think, though, of these Ashley St. Clair types or these fake trads? And what do you think of, like, the allegations against Lauren Southern?
Well, I'd have to do more research into them myself. All that I'd heard, I kind of had heard like a crude version of what you told me about her sort of sleeping around. I would have to do more research on Lauren Southern, but as far as Ashley St. Clair and this sort of problem with these fake conservatives that preach one thing but do a complete opposite, I think it's a little bit because so conservatives and liberals both have an issue, but it's like the opposite issue, and that's why we see the opposite problem. And I'm going to explain what I'm getting at here. So the left, for example, they're like annoying, wimpy little gatekeepers, right? So they're like political Puritans. If you have even one opinion that's wrong, then they're like, oh, you're not a real liberal. You're like, that's sort of what the left's issue is, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the conservatives have the opposite issue where they're almost, I don't want to say too accepting, because we should be accepting of everyone. And like, obviously we want the conservative movement to be welcome to people with all points of views in hopes of changing their minds eventually. But I think that conservatives are sometimes a little too quick to embrace people who, just because they spout conservative rhetoric or say something that the conservative movement agrees with. So like Ashley St. Clair is like, oh yeah, Trump is good and libtards stupid and cucks, LOL. And then she's getting like shit ton of followers, but no one stops to think like, is this girl genuine? Is she really against the leftist agenda, or is she just profiting off of conservatism?
Yeah. No, that's a good point to bring up, and I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. I think it comes from a lot of conservatives know we have a lack of women, a lack of minorities as our central figure. So when we get one, we're like, oh my God, we have one finally. And we prop them up. And if they're hot, oh my God, they're going to get 1 million followers overnight. And look, Lauren Southern, she's hot. Ashley St. Clair, she's hot. So a bunch of guys are going to easily just jump on that train. And
conservative men especially, like, I'm sorry, brothers, but sometimes like us guys just like, we need to care. Like, there's more to someone than their looks.
Yeah.
And if you're following, listen, if someone's going to hit the follow button on Twitter or Instagram, and it's because they're like, yeah, this girl's hot and she posts like provocative photos of herself, that's one thing. But if you're following her as like this conservative girl that you're like, oh, she's conservative like me, but then you don't care, like, you don't want to just believe that she's conservative because she's hot, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very shallow sort of way to look at it. And I think that you're right. That is a very blunt and bold take. But the thing is, I think that you're completely right in the sense that conservatives are a little bit too eager to embrace any woman, any minority, anyone that sort of props up that conservative agenda without fully vetting the person.
Yeah. And another example, I mean, this is slightly different, but I was talking to people about this last night, that these people on the right that love Tulsi Gabbard, I'm like, guys, she supports UBI, Medicare for all. She's a far lefty. And they're like, oh, but she's anti-war. I'm like, does that really, trump all these things, or do you just like her because she's hot? Like, let's be real. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
No,
mean, there's a. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that Tulsi Gabbard is definitely better than a lot of the Democrats running, though.
absolutely.
She definitely is like she seems more level-headed, and I really roast of Hillary.
Yes, that was beautiful. And I appreciate what she's doing too. It's just when I see this whole jumping on the Tulsi wagon, I'm like, guys, hold on. Like, look at everything that's going on here. Look at all her policies.
Right.
She's good and stuff, praise her for it. She's bad and stuff, let's go after her for that.
Right.
I saw someone call her a pilf.
what?
And like, yeah, I was like, wow, that's interesting. But then again,
I've never heard that one.
well, like, I mean, there's a lot of creepers out there. There's a reason why porn is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
Porn is degenerate too.
Yes, that was a good Instagram post. I saw that on yours.
That may have been one of my most commented Instagram posts, actually.
Really? Of course.
Yeah.
I've seen like changing gears. I've seen some of your videos, some of the banter that's going back and forth with like you and Vegan Gains. What do you think? Why do you think people become vegans? And what do you think of like I don't know, like the intersectionality of veganism? Because there seems to be a little of that.
Right. Well, the thing that Vegan for was actually, it's funny because Vegan Gains was coming after me because I was only criticizing like liberalism mixing with veganism, and he was like, but you're ignoring all the arguments of veganism. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of stupid, so he didn't really get my point. But what I was really genuinely getting at was my criticism is not of veganism. I really don't have a problem with veganism. My fiance has actually considered going vegan before, and I've even considered going vegan myself before, just because I recognize that, one, the food that I eat doesn't generally make me feel very good, and two, I recognize that like animals are suffering, the factories and so forth. They do not treat animals properly, and I think that this is pretty much objectively true. The issue that I have, however, is kind of like what you said, is the intersectionality element of veganism. It's like, oh, well, you have to vote for Hillary, you have to hate Donald Trump, anti-racism, and you're a vegan. Like, veganism is a diet. It's something related to health. It's not a political statement. I feel like veganism is no more a political statement than like being fat is a political statement, right?
Yeah.
Because the fat acceptance movement tries to make it seem like being fat is a political statement when it's not. And neither is being vegan.
It's a way of life, as they say. And
exactly.
I think it's interesting too because Tyree's sister is a vegan, and one thing that she knows, this kind of gave us a sort of aha moment. When Tyree eats meat in front of her sister's mood just like changes, and it's very interesting. I think a lot of these vegans, this is my theory, so probably may or may not be right, but I think the reason they become militant vegans, angry vegans, nasty, bitter, mean online is because they're craving meat and they're not getting any, and they're not getting those nutrients, those, everything that your body needs that really just comes from meat. I think that's where it comes from. Could be totally wrong. Could just be the type of person they are. But I think that's where a large chunk of it comes from.
I couldn't really tell you if you were wrong or right, just because veganism is something that I haven't really researched. Mostly because I don't really care at the end of the day. Like, if someone doesn't want to eat meat, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But I do know that, just from what I've heard other vegans say, I guess, I know that they have like supplements for the nutrients that you need from meat.
Yes.
How that affects people's mood or whatnot, I honestly, it's not a bad theory to have, but I could not tell you if you were right or wrong just because I haven't done any research into it.
Yeah, it's understandable.
I have like I kind of have a story with the whole veganism thing. I went out with this chick, and so I took her out, and it was like one of those really nice steakhouses, and like so we got out of my car, got into the restaurant, ordered food, and then so obviously I'm gonna order a steak at a steakhouse because I freaking love steak. And and she waited until after I bit into the steak to tell me that she was a vegan.
Oh,
Yeah,
dump.
the craziness. I'm like, look, but like, and ever since then, I've kind of been personally negative toward the. I don't want to say negative toward veganism, but like
Right.
when I hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm a vegan," that story pops up in the you know, on the back of my brain.
Right.
So what? Okay, what video? I know I was going on a random spout there. What video would you say that you're most proud of?
Ooh, which video of mine am I most proud of? You know, I don't know, because it would have to be measured on how I. Is it a successful video that is the reason I'm proud of it? Is it a video that I just really like what I'm talking about?
Well, we asked Sargon that question last night, and he just pointed to a video that he put a lot of work into and that he felt passionate about, and it was something he felt needed to be talked about. But we're curious, like, as to...
Yeah, then some...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that I was curious as to, there's like a certain video that no matter if it did good, bad, people hated it, loved it, that you just thought, this is my best work, I'm so proud of this, this is peak Hunter Avallone right here.
Right. Well, I definitely think some of my better videos, as far as like topics that I really think need to be addressed, it's unfortunate because a lot of my really good videos that I do put a lot of work into tend to be my lower viewed videos. But I honestly, you know, maybe this sounds arrogant, but I don't think I could pick my favorite video.
That's okay.
But some of my favorites definitely would have to be like when I go to the Pride events or the Women's March and people. I really like being like there physically talking to people. And I did a video a while back about marijuana. It was called The Truth About Weed. And this is another one of my opinions I hold that really breaks from like typical traditional conservative beliefs. And it was basically like a 20-minute documentary that I put together on why I believe weed should be legalized recreationally and medically. And it was just, I wouldn't say it was a peak Hunter Avallone video, but it was one of my best because of just the research was good, and I thought that the way I edited it and put it together was really good too.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming on, Hunter. Really appreciate it. I mean, I've never been more happy to talk to a guest. You were fantastic, down to earth, awesome. Loved every second of it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I had a really great discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, take care of yourself, Hunter. See you at the event.
You too. See you then, man.
So yesterday, I was walking out of my class, and I see a message in a group meeting that I'm in, and I see this statement from the college Democrats at Penn State. And I read the tweet, and this is the first line of the tweet. Okay, the first line of the tweet reads, "The Penn State College Democrats statement on violent speech on campus." And I go, oh my God, we're already off to a stupid start here, violent speech. And I start reading the actual thing. Okay, this is their statement. It says, on October 23rd, the student organization Turning Point USA Penn State is hosting Carl Benjamin, a YouTuber who goes by his pseudonym Sargon of Akkad. That's probably the one sentence in this entire thing that has nothing wrong with it. That's the most accurate sentence out of the whole entire thing. It's just advertising our event for free, which I appreciate. Thank you, guys. And then it says, Sargon of Akkad, or Benjamin, is best described as a far-right provocateur, infamous for targeted harassment of marginalized communities. Well, okay, he's not far right at all. This has been proven. If you look on his channel, he's taken multiple political compass tests. 4 years ago, he took one. He was a left-wing libertarian, a moderate left-wing libertarian. So he's to the left a bit and then down. He took one 9 months ago and he came out as a moderate libertarian, moderate right-wing libertarian. So he's like to the right a bit and then down. Okay, so that line is totally inaccurate. And it says infamous for targeted harassment of marginalized communities. When has he ever done that? They don't cite that at all. They make this claim to see they have other things that they back up with footnotes, but they don't back that one up at all. There's no citation. It's total fabrication.
Well, so college Democrats, what do you expect? You know, they can't do their own work.
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty pathetic.
They're like the college Republicans. They just make a statement about everything. That's the only thing they do other than like party. I don't know, that whole organization, No, that's funny though. They're providing you a service. They're giving you free advertising. They're creating this outrage over there. I say go ahead. Try to get Turning Point banned. Let's go see how that works out for you.
Oh, I love the College Democrats. I mean, they've been so nice to us. They have given us so much free advertising from this. They couldn't have been nicer. They are going to make the event even more successful than it already was going to be. I am just so grateful for them. And it can, yeah.
I would have thought you would have been angry at first because they were tearing down your posters, but now they're making up for it. So at least they're trying to make amends for the actions that they know were bad. So
Oh,
you gotta
yeah.
give them credits too. They realized they did something wrong. They were tearing down your posters. So now they go and they provide their own posters advertising your event.
Oh, I give them. I totally take back what I've said about them tearing down the posters. I fully embrace their form of apology, if you'd call it that. Or they've redeemed themselves, because I was going around. I'd hang up posters every single night at midnight of the event, so that they wouldn't get torn down, and they'd be up there during the day, bright and early when everybody's going to class. But I'd come the next day and I'd find a few hours later they'd get torn down. It was very disappointing. People would tear down these flyers. It's very disrespectful, rude, childish, and unproductive and stupid. But, if they're going to make up for it by giving us lots of media articles, lots of social media interaction, lots of irony through this statement, I totally forgive them for it. I am glad they've redeemed themselves, because now we can move forward from this. But it keeps going. The thing keeps going. It says, we call on the Pennsylvania State University to cease chartering of Turning Point USA and demand all entities associated with the university stop the flow of tuition and student fee dollars to speakers who advocate for the oppression of marginalized communities and incite violence through meritless and dangerous rhetoric. Oh my God, this is what I got to pull apart in so many ways. For starters, we've already gotten UPAC funding for this event. It's been approved. We signed all the contracts. It's a done deal. Okay? So they're talking about future stuff is what I get the impression of. And they say that these speakers are advocate for the oppression of marginalized communities. When has Sargon ever done that? When has Hunter Avallone ever done it? They've never done that. They don't incite any violence through meritless and dangerous rhetoric. What dangerous rhetoric? They don't cite these things. They make stuff up. They're literally just throwing accusations out there and not substantiating them. And then it goes on. Yeah.
Well, it is good though that they're doing this. Don't forget that, because they're showing the exact reason why you need to have these people here.
Yes.
Silence. And they're proving the reason they want. I remember I was on Facebook and I saw comments who were like, why do we need to have these people over here? Well, seeing the reaction of the College Democrats, and it's not even just the College Democrats too. Like, they're a small part of this. With all these other far left radical, Antifa parallel organizations who are supporting this activity on there as well.
Yeah.
So don't just think the College Democrats. They probably don't have the skills to do it just by themselves. Let's be real here. All they have the skills to do is probably party with the College Republicans.
Well, I don't even know if they can even do that well anymore. I'm kind of doubting their abilities.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any quote-unquote lit parties with them recently, so I don't...
I never had lit parties. They go and throw like 50 people into Meridian. They call it a party. That's like a party in a tuna can. You can't really do that very well. I mean, you can, but it's, no one's going to have any fun over there. And they'll get offended like over every
joke
thing that you do over there. You're going to make a joke, boom. Good Lord knows how the Halloween party goes this year if they're still doing it.
Yeah, everything's cultural appropriation with them. You can't even dress up like a cat because you'd be appropriating something
species.
out there.
They're appropriating furry culture. LGBTQIAPARP barbecue space.
Barbecue.
I don't know. They have so much stuff onto that now. It's like, how do you even know what things there are? Like, I've heard 50 different versions. One. What happened to just LGBT? Now it's LGBTQIAAP. It feels like a code into a video game. You remember those old games?
Yeah, we put in the cheat code on Lego Star Wars to get something unlocked, the special character unlocked early.
Up, down, left, right, A, B, A, B.
Now Dave Chappelle calls them the alphabet people.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. They're stealing all of the alphabet. What's going to be left for us?
should sue them because they're stealing the Konami code. That was the original one with the cheat codes in the game. So they should sue the big what do they call it, the hive mind, the leftist homosexuality agenda hive mind. Just be like, yo, you're stealing the Konami code over here. This is copyright infringement. You got to go and come up with something else other than this acronym that becomes 50 characters long.
Yeah. Well, their letter's gonna get worse. I mean, every paragraph gets worse. It's like, what's this thing? Stupid thing's 3 paragraphs. Okay, second paragraph here. It says, quote, Carl Benjamin is most recognizable for repeatedly suggesting he would rape a member of the UK Parliament. They took the bait. They took it.
That's an objective lie. That's flat out slander. If you actually read what he said he would not rape someone. So apparently he won't do something. It's the same as saying you will do something. So if I say, hey, I'm not going to punch you in the face, that's assault now. That's threatening assault. These college Democrats, no wonder they want to legalize marijuana because that's probably what they're on 24/7. Come up with this stuff.
I don't even think you need that to get that crazy on this stuff, because if you read what he said, he deliberately made this trolly tweet so that people would, because he knew people would say exactly what they're saying. Because this person, Jess Phillips, that's who they're referring to, a member of the UK Parliament, that's Jess Phillips. She was complaining, I think, about rape threats at her, and she was trying to censor the internet, apparently. And Sargon's point was that no matter what you say at her, it will be considered a threat. So he said to her, I wouldn't even rape you, which is to say he won't rape her. The word not is literally in there. And why would he even... Okay, here's the other thing. Well, let's take this at face value and assume what they're saying is true, but without the context or anything in that. Why would anyone ever repeatedly suggest to rape a member of the UK Parliament? Why would any prominent, even YouTuber, ever suggest to do that openly on Twitter? Why?
Well, who would you, that? Let's be real over here. These people, there's no reason for them to go and suggest that. The only person who would unironically say that would, the only people who would say that would be someone ironically or radical Islamic terrorists. Those are the only people who do that. The people that the college Democrats would probably defend, the same person who's threatening Laura Loomer, who, let me guess what their political party was. It doesn't take too much of them guess that, a radical Muslim student threatening a conservative personality. But, they'll call us the party of violence. But I've never seen the college Democrats write an apology for that sort of behavior. But they expect us to write an apology for, what some people on the right do somewhere is, it's infuriating. There's a double standard with them. And the thing is, too, they refuse to have a debate. They refuse to have an open dialogue because they know they can't have it. The only reason they're still even here is because they keep spouting lies, and they refuse to debate because they're part of cancel culture. The cancer that is infecting not only universities, but, the movies. Every sort of political and media angle is being affected by this cancel culture. They're the reason why you can't have comedians tell jokes anymore. The college Democrats and people like them. And that's why there's a big, a divide within Americans today, because people like the college Democrats, they can't have you having an opposing viewpoint. It's not just hey, if I don't like this, I can, not be a part of it. They need to go ban it for everyone. I used to be a lifeguard, and there'd be people out there who go throw people, throw all the kids out of the pool because some kid punched someone in the face or something. I'm not being a real example, but if one person does something bad, they'll punch the whole group, and that's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly what Hitler did too. So they're literally.
Well, you're equating them to Hitler.
They're literally calling us Hitler, but they're the ones who actually follow this group. What was it called?
Group punishment. Oh, group punishment.
Which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, group punishment is actually explicitly banned by the United Nations after World War II. So I mean, they advocate that. It's what they advocate for gun owners, because you have less than 1% of rifle owners commit mass shootings. Well less than 1%. It's 1% of 1% of 1%. The people that are according to Bernie Sanders run the country, they're also the people according to statistics, not the same people, but the same percentage. Yeah. But 99% of the welfare, the same, the ones who are doing the mass shooting crimes. It doesn't make sense.
Well, and the other thing too is when you talk about how they basically are policing language and they're going after comedians, the quote that they use here to substantiate that that Sargon's supposed to be repeatedly suggesting he'd rape a member of the UK Parliament. The quote they cite is where he says, quote, "I suppose with enough pressure I might cave, but let's be honest, nobody's got that much beer." If you see the video, they took out the context. They took it all out of context. And that pisses me off so much when people do it because it's so deliberate. It's deliberate lying. If you look at the video in question, it's a blooper reel that Sargon made when he was I think it was when he was running for UKIP MEP seat, and he makes a whole line of jokes, and the whole thing is about jokes. He literally says in the description, I don't apologize for any of my jokes or something like that, and it's joke after joke after joke after joke after joke. He makes fun of the fact that, the Labor Party has an anti-Semitism problem. He does all these sort of things. They're mocking things. And then at one point he says something along, I can probably just play it right. I don't know if I can. Can I play it?
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, well, I won't play it, but you can look it up on BitChute, anyone, because I think that's where the video only resides. It's called British Politics in 2019, I think. And if you listen to, there's one part at around 2 minutes where he says something along the lines of, I've been repeatedly attacked for saying that I would not even rape Jess Phillips. And, I suppose with enough pressure I might cave. He says something like that. And his point was to mock these people that believe he'd actually rape her when he's saying he's being ironic, he's being sarcastic. If you don't get that, you do not get comedy and you do not have a sense of humor. If you take out that context, because he literally says, people are criticizing me for saying I wouldn't rape this person. And then he goes, well, but maybe I will. That's basically what his joke was. And I'm not trying to twist his joke, but that's basically his joke. His joke is to make fun of the fact that people think he's going to rape her, but he's not because he said he wouldn't. And then it goes on. First of all, they use 2 periods in this statement right after the quote, bad grammar. Then they said social media, they capitalized M in social media, which I don't think is right. Platforms.
It's a white supremacist construct.
What's a white? Oh, grammar?
Yeah, grammar because it's made by white people. It's
well, and they're grammar Nazis. You do know that.
All my English teachers
are. Hitler created grammar Nazis.
You can get these. Whoa, that should be a 4chan troll. If you get the people to believe grammar Nazis are actually people that go around correcting grammar are actually grammar Nazis or actual Nazis, and it's a dog whistle. Because it's like when people make an argument and they'll just in reply to the argument they'll just correct your or something like that. You could do that and be like, oh my god, he's being a grammar Nazi. He's dog whistling.
The college Democrats are so stupid over here. They probably believed if you did that okay sound that you're part of an alt-right hate group.
No. They wouldn't believe that. The college independents believe that. And I have proof of it in their group me. We'll go into that. Actually, let's go into that right now. Let's take a little detour here. So I posted something about this event in the college independence chat because I thought, might as well remind people that it's coming up because we also have a reward where if you get the most referrals for ticket sales, you get a seat at dinner with Sargon Hunter. So if you sell the most tickets, you get your name on the referral box the most, you get a seat at dinner with Hunter and Sargon. And so I just told people that I thought, maybe they'd be interested in the offer because I know people there that like him. And then the United Socialist ex-president said, yeah, who wouldn't want dinner with this guy? And he cites a part on Wikipedia where it talks about Sargon being involved in Gamergate, which is totally cool. And then of course, it's the Jess Phillips, I wouldn't even rape you comment. And then I post a meme, a joke. It was just a meme. I put hashtag Sargon did nothing wrong. And then I posted a picture. It's like a painting. It's a beautiful meme. I'll send it to you right now, Alex. That has Milo, Nigel Farage, Sargon, and Pepe all in a car, and it says, "Get in, normies. We're about to save Western civilization."
I think you've showed me that one before.
Yeah, it's a great meme, and it's funny. Okay, I got 4 likes on it too, by the way, not to brag. And then it says this other guy from the College Independence steps in. And it was the United Socialist guy says he asks the president of College Independence says, is Nazi dog whistling allowed here?
Oh my
what
god!
are they talking about?
Nazi dog whistle. That gives me a brain aneurysm. Right
And then he goes on to say, "Hop in my Nazi light normie. We're going about to save quote civilization with Pepe holding the OK symbol in a white supremacist context. You go.
Oh yeah, so Pepe, a green frog, is a white supremacist. Just a regular Pepe, not like one of the Pepes that says like racist stuff on it. Just like a regular.
It's just a regular Pepe.
Okay, fine. Like these people are stupid. I remember I saw a story. It was a couple weeks ago where someone like called up Universal Studios to get a coworker like fired and like blacklisted, and they wanted like to sue them, and they lawyered up because a coworker did the OK sign. If the OK sign is a white supremacist symbol, then Barack Obama is actually a white supremacist.
Of course he is.
Just about every like major person in that I've seen, like every politician is now a white supremacist. Like even the black ones, even the Asian ones. Everyone who's used an OK sign ever is now like an alt-right like dog whistler. And by the way, just that word dog whistle, it just always triggers me. It triggers my my Twitter PTSD. That the left gets whenever you say like other words, like you do the OK sign, it'll trigger that. Like when they use the word dog whistle, triggers me like that. It just makes me want to flip out.
Yeah,
because it's the most overused word.
Oh yeah, and it's people mind reading. It's just mind reading. It's total mind reading. They think they think they can read your mind, see your intention, see what you mean. They're not even looking at what you say.
Yeah, there used to be a time when like people on the left actually used to browse 4chan. It was a long time ago, but like for a long time 4chan didn't used to be this like quote unquote right wing place. But because of people, they just become so like insane, they keep like hearing this stuff. You can't even talk to them anymore. They're not normal people. When they go and like they start having all these conspiracy theories, but they call us the party conspiracy theorists. They'll call Alex Jones like the worst conspiracy theorist on earth, but the Democrat Party, they required like us, the taxpayer, to go and pay for this Russia conspiracy theory that doesn't make any sense. Like I've seen YouTube videos from actual like people who are like they're Russian expatriates and stuff, and they're like, yeah, now the Russians aren't that competent to be able to go and mess up the American elections. They're putting way too much like skill into this country that they can barely afford to eat. Like it wasn't until the fall of the Soviet Union that people started being able to actually afford cars over there. Like it's such a funky place. I think this like backwater like third world country is like influencing every aspect of the United States.
Yeah,
like,
and they're ignoring China. But
oh yeah, China. That's another big thing we should talk about.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that later. I want to wrap this up first, but. The United Socialist ex-president then goes on to say, "Are you going to let this guy just get away with it, or kick and condemn him?" And then I just reply with, I do the OK symbol emoji, but I use the brown skin tone emoji, and I put equals white supremacy, question mark, then laughing emojis. And then he goes, "It doesn't in this context, and you know it." No! See, it's mind reading again. And then he says, "Isn't white supremacy an explicit call to violence against Jews, Muslims, and whoever they deem non-white? What are these characters going to do once they hop in the Nazi wagon? The intention is clear. Another figure such as the Aztec imagery or MAGA guy are just there for plausible deniability. That is not a Nazi meme." What's the Aztec imagery?
Well, let me go and look at that. There's probably let me look at that image. Oh, there was like a picture of like
in the background. What's that to do with white supremacy? That's like Sargon's,
Well, we have like a homosexual, guy in there, us with the MAGA hat eating a taco, which is,
it's cultural
Mexican.
appropriation though.
Yeah, it's like South American, Hispanic food, and then you have Sargon over there.
Oh wait, that's a drink actually. He's holding like a lemonade or something. It does look like a taco from a distance, but that's like
I thought it was like a hard shell taco.
No, it's like the lemon that's on the glass.
Oh, okay. So he's drinking some sort of beverage. And how do you even like know it's a Nazi vehicle? I don't see any like signs. And the funny thing is like the leftists love like Volkswagens. They're the first people to go and buy
that. It's a hippie mobile.
It's a hippie mobile, but it was invented by Hitler. So,
yeah, it literally was. It was Hitler's gift to the people at the end.
It doesn't even look like a Nazi vehicle. It just looks like a generic car. You don't see any like I don't see where the Nazi propaganda is on there. Does Pepe have a straw? I thought it was a plastic straw in his hand for a second.
Is that red pill?
No, that's Sargon with the red pill. I don't know. Like, these people are so insane.
Oh, that's
Like,
just the
this is
mirror of the
why-
car behind when he's doing the OK symbol.
This is why Trump's going to win again, because people on the left have gotten so radical. Like,
Insane.
who can, like, you know, I remember back before 2016, the left, you know, they would actually make there'd be some like valid points they'd actually make, but now it's just gotten so out of hand where they're talking about like, and like not even just, you know, this stuff. Even I was listening to Pete Buttigieg and all these other people. You know, they were saying some really radical stuff over here. You know, and we can talk about that after the break. But
Yeah.
you know, they think that's normal. Like, they're not even going to be able to, like, who is even running right now? Like, it's ridiculous. They're going downhill.
The last few things that were said in this chat, though, is this other guy in the chat that's a college independent says, I agree the meme is problematic. I disagree that the right response is to ban people. And then he then also says, where is it? Oh, he cites the New Zealand shooter, the United Socialist, trying to connect it to white supremacy. But that guy was a mentally deranged man that didn't even know. He said subscribe to PewDiePie, which doesn't have anything with white supremacy.
Oh, yeah, it's not PewDiePie's a white supremacist. A Jewish man's a white supremacist. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, totally, of course.
Like Carl, like Felixberg or something.
Yeah. Felix
Yeah, that makes
Kinberg.
sense. Yeah, like one person, like if you wear like Nike shoes and you commit a mass shooting, you know, then they're gonna like say like and you're like a white supremacist or something, then they're gonna ban Nike shoes, which would be funny. I mean, not the mass shooting, that'd be terrible, but like,
Yeah.
you know, they're going to find anything that you do that's something that not every single person will go and do. It's just like, oh, you know, he's drinking Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's alt-right.
Yeah, no, he's drinking milk, and that's a white supremacist drink.
Yeah, that's how that happened too, because someone was like trolling, you know, someone was just drinking that, I think, on the Heal Not Divide Us, and then people were like, we should go and convince the left
That these
that
are whites.
milk is
Yeah.
alt-right.
And
they
that's
did.
they do. They win every time they take the bait. They took the bait with the I wouldn't even rape you comment, and they're taking a bait again with the OK sign. And then the ex-socialist guy goes on to say, it is a solidarity symbol for white supremacists. 99% of the time, it's used as the OK symbol, but context changes meaning. They are weaponizing irony to spread and normalize their white supremacist propaganda.
Weaponizing irony. They don't even know what the word weaponizing means.
Well, 4chan did, as some people say, weaponize autism. That's what that phrase comes from.
That
But
was like literally just a joke, and they
I
probably
know.
They probably think it's like literal. They're probably, I could see the left, like, you know, just going like putting autistic people on like some sort of like government watch list because they might be right wing.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that, and you know, don't you go and troll them into actually doing that, because if they did that, they would lose so much they would lose so much respect, and they would actually do it too. Like there would be I could see like the next Democrat president being like, there was autistic collusion to take down, you know, like Elizabeth Warren. And that would be the most funniest stuff, just hearing that on national television, because CNN would run with it. Because
Yeah, they
CNN,
would.
they're so morally bankrupt, and they just want to get ratings. They'll go and run with anything that someone says that sounds like salacious.
Yeah.
They're no better than BuzzFeed, but at least BuzzFeed, you know, they're not supposed to, like, people don't actually respect them. You know, they'll just go and look at them for memes, but CNN's like BuzzFeed, just bigger.
Well, and the other thing, too, I will give credit to the college independence president, because he did say, when he commented on the meme, he didn't say there was really anything wrong with it, but he then, where I disagree with him, he does say that you should think about stuff before you're posting it, and if, you know, people will consider it racist, sexist, whatever, you shouldn't post it, but I disagree with that, because people think everything is now. And then the rest of the statement from the college Democrats reads, after we say that, it says social media platforms have taken action against the disgraced charlatan, oh, he's a charlatan, for statements like these and other dangerous rhetoric. Ooh, scary. Twitter banned Benjamin in 2017, and the crowdfunding platform Patreon followed in 2018. Yeah, that's why we're calling this event The Censored, guys. And it says YouTube has demonetized his channel, which still allowing him to publish videos, but no longer makes any money on them. We have no intention to prevent Benjamin from speaking on campus, nor do we intend to prevent our peers, faculty, and staff, or any members of the community from attending. Okay. Did we? Okay, let's read this in context. They first started off with, you know, here saying, well, we don't want, you know, we don't want to prevent Benjamin from speaking, but we do want to shut down and defund your entire chapter. Okay. It's like, well, we're not going to censor this one guy, but we're going to censor every future guy you want to have. That's literally what they're saying.
You should go and just post like a one sentence reply, be like, "Come at me, bro."
Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, that's violent speech."
Yeah, they probably would be like, "Okay, now no you, just post that
No, you.
Post the OK symbol."
Yeah, and do it with like a dark skinned emoji. So when they call it a white supremacist symbol, they show like the screenshot of it. You'll just see like a dark brown OK.
You need to do like on Twitter, just be like, "No, you," and then post like a frog and then like a black OK symbol.
Yes. The last bit of it. What was that?
They would flip so much, doggy poop.
They wouldn't know what to do with it. But then the statement concludes with Benjamin is unequivocally a threat to women. Unequivocally. Like, this is a consensus. Everyone agrees with this. His wife must agree with it too, I guess. And they cite in reference to all these things, like they have footnotes, they cite Vice as one of their sources. So you know where this is coming from. They say
Vice. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right. Benjamin's unequivocally a threat to women, members of the Muslim and Jewish faith. When does he attack Jews? What the? He's not from the Labor Party.
More than anyone else, like the left, they go and criticize.
Jeremy Corbyn and the Labor Party are a bigger threat to the Jewish community than Sargon of Akkad. Let's be real.
Friends with like Milo, who's like an actual like Jewish gay guy.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that. Like, they see as a threat to LGBTQ. He's friends with a gay Jewish guy, like he's famously friends with that guy.
Yeah. If you guys ever want to see some anti-Semitism, just Google. Oh, the Daily Stormer endorsed Jeremy Corbyn when he was running for prime minister. Okay, you want to see the side of anti-Semitism here? It's Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party. If you're going to make that argument, I'm not saying I will, but if you're going to say that somebody's an unequivocal threat to Jewish members of the Jewish faith, how about you start looking to the Labor Party, okay? Because the Daily Stormer endorsed Jeremy Corbyn because they believe he's anti-Semitic enough for their endorsement. He's also an unequivocal threat to the LGBTQ plus community, immigrants, and people of color. So like literally everyone that isn't white. Okay, that's what that says. Just everyone that isn't white. Even though I don't think Sargon's fully white, I don't know the truth of that. But
I don't know.
I've heard different things, so I don't know what the truth is. But let's just throw it out there. The Pennsylvania State University must not charter groups that allow speakers who harass people based on an individual's protected class, such as sex, race, or religion that meets the legal definitions established by law. And that's the end of the statement. And then it's signed.
Just reply, then we won't even uncharter you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We should reply back that I wouldn't even defund you. I wouldn't even shut you down. So this was signed by the College Democrats, LGBTQA Student Roundtable, Queer and Trans People of Color, PSU Students for Warren, United Socialists at PSU, PSU Students for Bernie, Planned Parenthood Generation Action, Latino Caucus, there's two more, Pi Sigma Alpha, the National Political Science Honor Society, Triosha, the National Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies Honor Society.
A whole honor society. I'll probably be working at like Starbucks for the next like 20 years.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like how useless of a major is that? Women's and Gender Studies, like honor society. Like, just go and take an actual degree, people.
This statement is absolutely great for us. I'm just going to be flat honest. Like, they've done us a service. They've given us free advertising. And they have literally proven the point of this event to a T. I originally called it the censor because I didn't know what else to call the event. And we were going to talk about big tech censorship, but maybe just YouTube. It was already starting about YouTube in general, but I thought, no, it's going to be probably more about big tech censorship given the fact they're YouTubers. And so I thought, we'll call it the censor because both these guys have been banned from Twitter. Sargon's been banned from Twitter, Patreon, and both have probably been shadow banned on a lot of platforms. So it's very relevant. And so the flyers going up have pictures of them with duct tape on their face show they've been censored. Not only are people tearing down flyers that say the censor, but now they want to shut us down for having an event called The Censored. The irony, it just can't get any better than this. It's an absolute gift. Christmas has come early, thanks to the College Democrats, and it's fabulous.
Love you guys.
Love you guys too. It's very nice of you. I couldn't have asked for a better present.
Yes, preach.
I mean, I can't believe they literally want to shut down our club for an event called The Censored.
Well, where's their event? Like,
yeah, that's why they want to shut you down, because they can't do like any that would generate any sort of like attention.
Yeah.
They're constantly attention seeking. They see people who do better than them, and they get instantly jealous. So they
Sounds
can't
like
do
somebody
stuff
we know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they do not have skill. They are people who, instead of like doing their own thing, they try to drag everyone else down with them because they can't have fun. They're party poopers. So one of their parties probably suck. And it's not even just the College Democrats either. You get all these other like, you know, what you call it, like identity politics groups, like the Women's Studies like Honor Society, which is a joke. You know, if you're a women's studies major, like, you know, why even go to college?
Yeah.
If you want to go to work at Starbucks so bad, you know,
You can do it
just do
without
that
a
without
degree,
college
though.
degree.
I don't get the whole point of like a women's studies. Like, you're a woman yourself. Like, you should know yourself better. You know, this is how women act. Why do you need entire studies based on your own gender?
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. And then, you know, they're just so politically biased. Like, I hope Trump defunds this stuff.
Yes.
Like, because why is my taxpayer going to go and fund this, like, in a whole organization that's basically propaganda, like, whole studies?
I just
Why is
lost
my
something.
taxpayer money going to that?
I just lost something. If the school, I don't know if they're going to do it, I hope they don't, if they remove our charter, you do realize Trump made that executive order that if a university shuts down free speech, guess what? They lose their funding.
Oh, I'd recommend that the university try that, because they're going to find, and I doubt they're going to win that.
Yeah.
You know, they would lose so fast, and Penn State would lose, like, just think of the alumni network over here. How many people, like, you know, I certainly wouldn't donate to Penn State after that. You know, Trump would probably go, there would probably be an actual lawsuit against them, not only from Turning Point, but also from various, like, you know, every sort of conservative organization, and then you'd get, like, you know, the federal government. So, I mean, I doubt Penn State would do it. And if they did, you know, that would make you guys famous. You'd become a martyr at that point. So, I mean, I really hope that they, like...
I hope they do it. Defund me, bro. I dare you.
Come at me.
Come at me. Well, and the thing, too, is I love this one quote from Trump's Art of the Deal, which I read over the summer, and this quote stood out to me. And this sums up what the College Democrats are doing. He said, quote, "One of the problems when you become successful is that jealousy and envy inevitably follow. There are people, I categorize them as life's losers, who get their sense of accomplishment achievement from trying to stop others. As far as I'm concerned, if they had any real ability, they wouldn't be fighting me. They'd be doing something constructive themselves." There's no better way you could word that. That is exactly what these people do to try to shut stuff down that they don't like. It's because they're not successful. Their ideas aren't effective. They're not getting big speakers with large crowds. They're not having fun. So what do? They try to shut other people down. If they actually had the skill, if they had the talent in them, they'd be putting on their own events. They'd be bringing their own speakers. They'd be having fun, but they're not. They are losers. And it is pathetic. It is weak. It is terrible, unproductive, and silly to try and threaten, basically, or request, if you want to put it that nicely, the university to shut us down, to defund us, because we're hosting somebody they don't like. Well, why don't you show up to the event? Because there are going to be protests from Old Main. They're going to have a teach-in, which I don't know what that is. I guess they're going to educate people or brainwash people, is a more accurate way to put it, on who Sargon and Hunter are. And then they're going to walk over to our event in 112 Kern and I guess stand outside with signs and shout, "No Sargon, no KKK, no Fascist USA. No Hunter, no Fascist USA." You know?
I just had an idea. Someone from the event should like try to like get into the protest and see what goes on.
Infiltrate,
Yeah,
yes.
and like the whole teaching thing.
I totally disavow that. That'd be just awful.
Yeah, they're so original. Like, I can basically tell you what their like chants are going to be, because they do the same chant everywhere. Like, come on, folks. You've been doing this for like, you know, since Trump.
Yeah.
You know, you can find something new to go and chant about. And be like, no Trump, no KKK, no Fascist USA. Then replace Trump with whatever you're protesting against.
Insert guy you hate, no KKK, no Fascist USA. That's literally every chant.
And then who was that? Like, there's two honor societies that like complained, right? One was like the poli-sci, like
Yeah, the Poli-Sci Honor Society. Why did they sign off on this? That's disgraceful. They should not have signed off on this at all. They probably don't even know anything about Sargon or anything about Hunter. Because if they did, they would know that Sargon was joking. Yeah, political science must be a joke major.
It is. It is if they're doing that sort of thing. Like, I go and say, you know, Poli-Sci Honor Society, go and debate. Let's go and start this up, have an actual debate instead of just crying like a crybaby when you have a report, when you have someone that's controversial come up.
That's a good point. Because guess what? Guess who has refused to debate us? I have 2 clubs that have signed off on this. They've refused to debate us. The College Democrats, I've texted their president multiple times. I asked her, hey, do you want to debate? She said yes, but we got to talk over some things first. I'm like, fine, we'll do that. And then I asked her again, hey, is there any time you want to meet up? She didn't reply to me. She left me undelivered for days. She finally left me on read. It took a while. And it took her 4 days to read the text, I think, or 6 days or something like that. And she finally read the message and ignored me. Totally ignored me. So she's either scared to debate, doesn't want to debate, or is super busy, but I think we all know which it really is. And then the National Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies Honor Society was the other one that signed it, but I expect them. Like, that's just a given. But the Poli-Sci Honor Society, come on, guys. You're all about you should be all about free speech, free expression. What is wrong? Literally, what is wrong with you guys for not wanting this to happen and want to shut us down? Because that's the other thing.
It's another useless major over here because, like, you know, poli-sci sounds really interesting, but what it really is like, if you want to be a career politician, if you want to be a swamp rat, you know, just a guardian of the swamp, a swamp thing.
Yeah.
That's probably the major for you because that, you know, I know some good people who took those majors, so it's not everyone, but like, really, what are you trying to go and do? Like, the only real way that major can be was if you go to grad school, because if you like go right out of college with a poli-sci major, you're gonna have a hard time.
Oh yeah. It's not something I would recommend for sure. And I know I just said that, you know, these people don't want people to come to this event. Even though the statement says, like, we have no intention of preventing any of these people coming to this event, let's be real. I'm not trying to mind read here, but they're trying to... The whole statement, the first 2/3, is all spooky, especially the middle part. It's all spooky on how terrible Carl Benjamin is. And they lie about him. It's a total lie, like saying that he would suggest he'd rape a member of the UK Parliament. So these people... They do not like him. They probably don't want people to come to this event. That's my guess. That's my opinion. I'm not trying to read into these people, but come on. You know, like, when you read this, do you really think these people want people coming to this event? You really think they do? Don't think so.
Think Carl Benjamin, you know, they think Sargon Hunter's bad. Wait till the spring. Nuts.
Yeah. I know. That's what I keep telling people.
I'm not going to say who it is, but they're going to have a real fun time.
No. We cannot reveal that yet because we don't want to. We want to give them a little bit of time to recover from this. We want to be nice. And then when the spring rolls around, bam, they're going to get a nice surprise.
Just say if you think Sargon's bad, you're going to have a fun time with another speaker.
Oh God, I can't wait. Yeah, I'm actually gonna include that in our statement. I just saw that. I should say at the very end, be like, if you think Sargon's bad, wait till the spring.
No.
That's a mic drop. That is beautiful. But oh my God, this is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever read. I mean, I could rant on this for hours, but it's so stupid. But they played right into our hands. You guys realize that. I'm literally telling you this into your faces if you're listening. You played into our hands. You really did. You screwed up. And this is why nobody likes the college Democrats. This is why nobody likes the college socialists or United Socialists, whatever you guys are called all over the country. I'm categorizing these groups all over the country. I'm not specifically targeting Penn State. But this is why nobody likes these things. This is why conservatism is a new counterculture. This is why conservatism is more popular and is becoming a movement across the nation with Trump, with all these other people. And while this is why when you see SJWs losing their minds on campus, people laugh at it, upload to YouTube, and it has millions of views. It's because you people are insane. You were insane if you think a guy who says, "I will not rape you," is saying he's going to rape you. Okay? This is clown world stuff right here. This is...
Well, they do not understand the English language because the English language is made by white people.
Yeah.
And that's
It's a
probably
white supremacist. Yeah.
It's probably white supremacists back in like the what was it, like 100 AD or something. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna make this language so it's hard for like non-white people to go and learn. That's probably what
That's probably what they think.
I mean, I'm not a mind reader unlike them, so I can't go and determine 100%. But I bet that's probably like they probably have a class that teaches that.
Yeah. Well, and I want
to point out women's studies like triota stuff.
I want to point out one last thing, which is the part of the statement that says Benjamin is unequivocally a threat to. Let's list these here: women, members of the Muslim Jewish community, the LGBTQ plus community, immigrants, people of color. So that's 5 groups right there. DJT here, as our one guest keeps calling you. I'm gonna call you T because I can't say
Please
that.
don't say DJT. I'm having
Flashbacks.
Yeah, from that.
So, you are or were a member of the Muslim community because you used to be Muslim.
Yeah.
Your sister is part of the LGBTQ plus community, so that's the only stretch we're gonna make here.
Yeah, you can say that.
Unless
you can add that in
there's
there.
something you haven't told me, but
I'm kidding.
I know. Well, are you?
Well, I'm dating you, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess you are in that community then.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Immigrants? Were you born here?
Yeah, no, I was not born here, actually.
Where were you born?
The UAE.
Okay, so you're an immigrant. Are you a person of color?
Actually, yes, I am.
Do you feel that Carl Benjamin coming here under your club, he's a threat to you? An unequivocal threat.
No.
Unequivocal. Wait, did you just say no?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I mean, he hates you. He hates you.
I know, because he was just...
He wouldn't even rape you.
The worst thing he said, I would watch his videos, and every time I watch his video, I'd be, like, triggered, because he would say, both sides need to debate each other. Both sides need to talk.
Yeah, but see, debating is a white supremacist construct.
It is, yes. Especially if I want to speak in English, then that's some white nationalist supremacist stuff right there.
Yeah, see,
If debate's a white supremacist construct. Like, I know the debate clubs over here, man.
yeah, we should get no. Say the debate club should get shut down because debate is a white supremacy construct. That's not saying people should do that. For the record, not making a call to action there, but. Think about that. What if somebody did say that?
Oh no, actually, remember in the Planned Parenthood chat, and they're picking on the grammar of I think the Eventbrite site.
Oh yeah. They're being grammar Nazis.
Oh my god,
fascists.
Oh my god, they're like the real fascists right there. I should have called them out on it, but I just didn't have the idea back then.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so. I think that proves our point very clearly, which is that these people are idiots. So not everyone. See, they keep trying to be the sort of the babysitter for their minorities. They think all their minorities believe what they're believing and they need protection. You don't need protection from spooky Sargon.
No, but I think I need protection for this headache that I'm about to deal with in 4 days. So.
Oh God, yeah, I can't wait for this. It's gonna be1exciting, funny, interesting. So anyway, listening, just know that this is the event that all these lefty groups, the College Democrats, the United Socialists, Students for Warren, Students for Bernie, this event, the censored event, it is the event that they want the Turning Point USA chapter is shut down for. Just remember that. It is the event they want to shut us down for. I think that just says everything that needs to be said there. So you know what you're going to be in for this event. Are there any last things you want to say, Alex, about the College Democrats and all these other people's goofy statement?
Did Dictator Phil get on?
No, I still don't see him. What's happened to him?
I don't know, man. No, I think we went over it pretty well. We beat the deadly. I don't know what the.
We went and we did basically a metaphorical, emphasize a metaphorical firing squad on that statement for an hour. We ripped it apart to shreds.
Yeah, but good luck for you guys. I'm sure you guys will, metaphorically kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait because protests are going to be pretty big, I'm guessing, bigger than last year. Sounds somewhat organized. And I've heard word that we are going to have some interesting ways of reacting to it and dealing with it. So we'll see how that goes. Another thing that was interesting is when I was tabling for this event, I wanted to mention this. I was just tabling it, and one guy came by and gave us a middle finger, which was very nice and productive and all that. And then some guy that our field rep talked to, this is still making me laugh. This is so funny. But our field rep was talking to somebody, was doing something. I forget what he was doing, but he was out there tabling basically. And somebody came up to him and went, "Turning Point sucks." And without hesitation, without thought, he just goes, "You suck." He just says,
so
"You
funny
suck."
to you.
It is. You laughed really hard when he told us about this,
it's
where he just went,
funny,
"You
yeah.
suck."
No, you were eating lunch and you couldn't. No, dinner.
You don't even know what meal we were eating.
No. You were eating dinner and you were just like laughing to yourself. Like I left the table to get some coffee and I looked back and you're still laughing and I'm.
It was funny.
It was funny, but like, oh my god,
You're the one.
dying.
Hey, I make fun of you and you laugh at like the sneaky boopy meme. Oh, you're laughing at it now.
No, okay, okay. And then there's a video on their chat where they're
On
using
Chat.
chat.
I think I said Chad.
Get your mind on the gutter.
I'm still thinking of last night. Continue.
Sorry, viewers.
Listeners, I can't view this program. Oh, I'm grammar Naziing you again. It's not grammar policing, it's grammar Naziing.
But no, there's this video, and they were taking a video of our posters, and they had this the music behind where it was going, boopy, stinky.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys killed the funny.
They killed the funny.
You killed the funny.
So we're going to talk a bit about China then, because that has been a big part of my week in some different ways, which I'll talk about. But number one is the whole controversy with South Park and the NBA in China. And for starters, the NBA controversy basically is where an NBA executive voiced support of the Hong Kong protests on Twitter. The tweet's been deleted. LeBron James then tweeted, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Lies begin to end. The end, we become silent about things that matter. Thank you, I'm okay." Wait, is this not the tweet? Sorry.
No, LeBron James is the guy who was like being a cuckold with that.
I know. I'm trying to find the tweet.
Let's not talk about that. He's the same guy who was supporting the dude who was like kneeling.
Kaepernick.
I forget what his name was. And he was like, "Oh, well, we have to go and stand up for injustice anywhere." But now it's like, "Oh, well, let's not talk about that because, this isn't affecting us, so let's just go and pretend this doesn't happen." He's so full of crap. Like LeBron James, people who deal with that, who'll be the same sort of people who will, say that America is a white supremacist place and we're terrible, but then go to China and be like, "Oh, this country's great." They go and literally steal organs from people who are against the government. For people who are Falun Gong, practitioners, for people who are, Muslim in that country. And listen, I don't have, I'm not the type of person that's like super pro like Islam and stuff, but I don't think that you should be like harming people who don't harm you.
Yeah.
And they are so anti-religious. Not even just them either. Like they've gone demolished churches over there. They're such a terrible country. We're not talking about that enough,
Yeah. And the thing LeBron said, I want to correct it and get his quote out there. In a press conference or, people are asking him questions, he says, "I don't want to get into a feud with Daryl Morey," that's the NBA executive that posted a graphic and a tweet that said, quote, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong," unquote. Then LeBron said, "But I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand," and he spoke. He then went on to say, "So many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. Just be careful what we tweet, what we say, and what we do. Yes, we have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negatives that come with that as well. Sometimes social media is not always the proper way to go about things as well." He sounds like such a shill there. He sounds like somebody that was told by his corporate executives, "Hey, don't say anything bad about China because that will upset them and upset our sponsors. So we can't have that. That'll hurt our money." That's what it sounds like. Yeah. And he, well, the thing was with the guy that did criticize, or that I shouldn't say he criticized China, 'cause he technically just, supported the Hong Kong protests. That angered the Chinese a lot. And this is also after South Park mocked the Chinese in an episode. I haven't seen it yet. But I think they equated President Xi with Winnie the Pooh. So China has banned Winnie the Pooh in their country for it. And South Park issued a non-apology apology for this, which was pretty funny on Twitter. Guys can check down the South Park Twitter. And at the same time, I met with my friend this week from China because he's now in grad school in St. Louis, and he came back to visit, and I talked to him about China, and he's saying it's really bad now. It's gotten much worse, where before, with the censorship and stuff, you would be somewhat afraid to criticize President Xi, but now he and everyone else is absolutely terrified. They're scared to say a word about the guy. They think it's going, you're afraid you're going to get thrown in jail or worse because of it. He knows somebody that was working somewhere, and they just voiced a small criticism of just the company, just like a small complaint. I think it was a government-run company, that's my guess, or has some sort of government ties, like everything in China. He just said something small, like, for example, maybe we should turn the AC down, but it's a bit cold in here. Something like that. It was just something very small. And he was sent to prison for 15 days. It's insane what this country is doing. And yes, they basically have modern-day concentration camps for the Muslims where they're putting them in there, making them eat bacon, drink beer, and...
that sounds like my sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to be serious, that's really screwed up that they would do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even just like the Muslims too, like the Falun Gong, it's like some weird, I don't really know what they do, but they're like really hit hard by China. Like, get to look up that religion. I'm not really too familiar with it, but I know, like, I've talked to Chinese people even over here, and they're like, yeah, those people are like, yeah, the government does not like them one bit. I don't really know why, but they will go and throw you into concentration camps. And years ago, they had this event at the Science Center. I think it was in Baltimore. And they'd have, like, it was called Bodies in Motion or something. And they had these, like, skeletons and stuff. They put them in funny poses. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Come to find out, where they're getting the bodies from. It was from China and mostly from, political prisoners and Falun Gong.
What?
Yeah,
wow.
and they sent over to the United States and they come in funny poses. And they're like, and, and they also do that with organ donation, like organ transfers and stuff. They'll go and steal organs from these, like, political prisoners and use them to give it to other people. They'll, like, sell it and they'll use it to give it to people who need organs. So they're stealing organs from the political prisoners to give to the rich, Well, maybe not the rich, but pretty expensive to get organ donate, like organ transfer.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah, it is. And I think what we're getting a bit more exposed to. It's something we've been talking about on this show many times before, but I don't think a lot of the general public realizes this, which is that China has a lot of influence over us. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of leverage on America. And you see, like, with movies, with culture, with the NBA, with all these other things, where China has a foot in things, where they have a stranglehold on things that wasn't the case a few years ago. Now that China has gone full-on totalitarian, full-on authoritarian regime, like even more than they already were, you're seeing the maximum potential of that power. Like, for example, the NBA. Now the NBA is in a weird spot where they're going to probably start doing things to cater to China because China's making threats with them. They probably, give them some money. They probably help them out with a lot of things. All these movies are funded by Chinese companies now. Disney's, oh my God, they get so much money from China, and all these other, I guess you could say, I won't say just technology companies, but companies in general that have factories in China.
Video game companies, like, especially, like, that's really crazy. Like 10-cent studios or 10-cent productions. They get, like, the whole thing started out with Blizzard, where some guy was in a, I guess he was a pro gamer or something, Gamer Boy. And he was playing this game called Hearthstone, which is really popular with, like, I've seen over here a lot, like, people from Korea, like a lot of students from Korea and, like, China, they'll play that game. And they had one of these guys who was, like, an esports dude, and he, like, he said or had a sign or something that said, like, support the Hong Kong protests against China. And he got, he lost his prize money, and he was banned from participating for, like, a year. And then the people who didn't even really have anything to do with it reported him. They were both banned for, like, I think indefinitely from being reporters for Blizzard gaming, like, for gaming stuff. So yeah, Blizzard started, and it was all because of Blizzard. So it was the straw that broke the camel's back that broke the story. And it's not even just Blizzard that Tencent studio owns. Like Tencent, I think only has like a 10% stake in Blizzard, but like other companies too. Like I think Riot Games, like they have a majority stake in there. A bunch of other companies too, like Ubisoft. I think there's a large percentage of them owning that. I think Nintendo's actually working with Tencent to get the Wii U or Wii Plus, whatever the heck the new one is, the Switch, like into China.
Oh yeah.
This company, and that's why they are so like crazy about supporting the Hong Kongs.
Yeah, I think you are right. And I think what's going to happen, unfortunately, is it's only going to get worse from here. There's going to be a breaking point, but it's only going to get worse with with China's influence on us. And also, what's only going to get worse is the resistance to the Chinese government within China. When I was talking to my Chinese friend about this, I said to him, well, I think these Hong Kong protests are just the start of something bigger. He personally thinks that China's going to go full fascist. He thinks it's going to go like Nazi Germany fascist, which is possible.
Like fascists or communists. It's look at Stalin, just authoritarian.
Yeah.
It's not fascist.
Well, but that's the word he used. He said that's what they're going to go towards. Now, I don't know. It's possible. But what he does think is definitely absolutely going to happen is there's going to be another peasant uprising in China, because there's a lot of poor people in the rural areas, in the farmlands, way out and away from the cities, that are super dirt poor, and they are struggling, and they're angry, and they're mad. And the Hong Kong protests are showing that you can have a lot of people that are very angry, and they can't be stopped. Normally you'd be afraid it'd be like a Tiananmen Square where you'd be run over by a tank and it's done. That's showing that you can stand up against the Chinese government, and that is lifting the fear from people. It's making people fearless. It's making them less afraid, and that is what is slowly going to start happening. It's going to keep building and building and building. This anger, kind of like in America, where this anger against the political establishment was building for years and years and years until, boom, in 2016, we got Trump and then sent them one big metaphorical middle finger to the establishment or to the political ruling class that we hate and it sucks. In China, that's what's going to happen. But how is it going to happen? It's probably going to happen violently, is my guess, because you can't elect people. President Xi is president for life. The people are just then gonna, whoever's in power that they don't like at the time, they're gonna physically remove him and put someone in they do like, through whatever means it takes. And it's only a matter of time. And the interesting thing is just gonna be watched for. It's like, when is this gonna happen? What's gonna be the breaking point that a full-on civil war happens? Because it's gonna happen. Because it's basically a breakup in their society of elitist nationalists who just care about themselves and poor people that are struggling to make it by and are angry. And those people are probably going to want more socialism, more communism, or maybe more capitalism. I don't know which, to be honest with you. But they're going to want one of those things, and the government's not going to want it, and they're going to they're going to remove them.
Well, here's the thing, too. Like, if you look at Chinese history, like, since the Communist Party's been in power, they've not really had, like, president for life in there. Like, surprising as it may sound, like, even Mao Zedong, he was, I think he was only in there for like 10 or 20 years, but then he eventually left because people are getting upset. But like, what General Xi Jinping did, that was unprecedented even in their country. So that's really interesting. I think there's going to be a coup within the party, and they're going to remove him. And I think that's going to happen in the next couple of years. And I think another factor that you're not thinking about is the incel problem in China.
Never forget about the incels.
When they have, like, when you have a country that does one-child policy and also heavily favors males because they, so-called pass down the family lineage, you're going to have an incel problem. And that's exactly what's going on right now. And that's going to be really tough because all these guys, they're never going to be able to have a, woman in a traditional way. And that's going to make their family look bad if they end up, like, not really having a wife. And it's going to end up becoming a problem. And they're going to end up just being mad. And they're going to rise up, literally.
Incels rise up.
Because if you have especially for men, if you have a man who doesn't have, they know they're not really going to be able to find a wife, they tend to become like, you get radicalized, like not necessarily like an incel that we have but a lot of these people in the like look at the Middle East, like all these terrorists. We
Well,
probably consider all these guys incels because they think they're never get a woman, so they're gonna go and like try to destroy things. And I think that's a problem that China's gonna have.
Well, actually, I was going over in my anthropology class. They said like in a society or just in any community where there's like a more guys and then less girls, then obviously the women are gonna be much more choosier, and yeah,
Much more choosier.
more
Pickier?
choosier, much more pickier.
Just
choosy.
pickier.
Yeah, they're gonna be like pickier, and yeah, you're gonna have and not only that, but with China, I was looking at this like one documentary, and the women there are just not interested in having a family. Yeah, and they're not interested in like getting married, so they're very much career women. So it's not bad being a career woman, but the thing is like for guys that want to find a wife, have like a traditional home, the chances of that happening is really small.
Yeah, and well,
China is incredibly traditional too.
yeah.
Like if you actually talk to them, for being a communist country, it's nothing like the communists that we have over here. They're really traditional. They're like atheists. So it's really interesting how that's going to play out.
And it's also interesting how my Chinese friend was describing how America's a way more individualistic society than China. I mean, obviously, a lot of things that we have are individualistic, like our capitalistic system, our way of life, our religions are very individualistic in some ways compared to China, which is more about collectivism. And what he's trying to explain to me is that their society on that foundational level is very different. That's why the kind of like capitalism and stuff like that, it's hard for them to accept at first. And I think the more time that passes, the more President Xi, is in power, I think he's going to try and get more and more control over the country. And it does seem obvious, but you see stuff like the social credit system, all these other things, the censorship that are, and the clampdown on the protesters too. It's going to culminate, though, to a point where I'm afraid, maybe not the Hong Kong protest, but a protest somewhere, they're going to like kill the protesters by, I don't know if it'll be an accident or intentional, but the amount of control is just going to keep tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening, and people are just going to get angrier, angrier, and angrier, and you're going to see like what Alex is describing as a coup. Will it be from his military? Maybe, but I don't know, because China's a very different country. It's very unique, and I don't know how much the military really likes the president. I really don't.
That's true too. Like there is this one guy on YouTube called like a CGP Grey, and he basically.
Oh yeah, I've seen his show many times.
It was like the how to go and like stay in power, and you basically have to go and make sure you appease the military. And I don't know how much they've been appeased recently, but I think his bigger problem would be within his own party, because what he's doing is just like unprecedented even for China.
Well, and keep in mind too that the government is like, let's say a couple hundred, few thousand people. It's just to throw numbers out there. There are a billion other people in this country.
Well, yeah, but they're not.
The numbers are against them.
They do not like. Yeah, the thing is, those people, they're poor, they're peasants. They don't have any Second Amendment.
Yeah.
They don't have any way they can really rise up to.
So they need the military.
Yeah, so the military, maybe that could be like maybe they'll end up instituting a draft or something, and then that could cause a military uprising.
Or what if, and this is very possible, what if other countries like America, other countries that don't like what President Xi's doing, that are against China, start smuggling in weapons quietly, like through CIA operations, to give to rebel groups?
No, they're not going to be able to do that. I don't think that would work as well.
We've done it before. I'm not saying it's effective, but I could see that happening.
Well, yeah, it never really works out that well when you start doing that. And it's not even just like your small arms. Like, they have tanks and stuff. But the thing is, a lot of their military equipment's like made from back when China was like, under Mao Zedong, and people were like razor thin because they couldn't get enough food. Like I actually saw there's a YouTube channel called China Uncensored. And they'll talk about this. Like they have tanks that no one can fit in because they're too fat.
Really?
Yeah, because they're doing pretty well right now. But the thing is, when you start having problems when your kids won't have as good a life as you, and I think that's why we're having problems in America, and I think China especially, because the generation now, they have it, they have it pretty well, but starting to get to the point where they've really, they already had it pretty, so then they're going to get pretty upset.
Yeah.
And that's generally when you have problems, because no one wants, like, the parents get upset when their kids, they'll be brought into a world that's not as good as what they had. That's why we have so much problems with boomers over, because they had, they're given, the earth on a, the United States on a silver platter back when we were the #1 country. Now it's like, we don't really have that because of this internationalism that's been going on, and just the fact that, after World War II, we were just doing so great because everywhere else was kind of blown up.
Mm-hmm.
Every other country was doing terrible except the United States, because we were the ones who didn't really get invaded.
Yeah, and I think also with China, trying to word this correctly. I think if they were to have a peasant uprising, do you think it would be successful?
Right now, I don't like it. They need it's not just kind of a peasant uprising. They need to go and have some sort, like, either like other party members who want to oust Xi, or they're going to need the military. If they don't have one of those, they're not going to. But if they do, then they can very well be successful. But if it's another, communist, like another, internal thing, like from the government instead through the military, then I think it'll be probably more similar to what we have right now. If it's with the military, we could end up with like another warlord sort of thing going on, which would be detrimental for the Chinese people, but they'd be most likely to remove communism as it is.
What is President Xi's like real end game here? What's his intention? Why is he where he is, and what does he want? That's what's still, I think it might just be about power, maybe about making China the best, but I don't know. I really don't.
Well, I think he sees, like, the writing on the wall. Like, China's not as powerful as it used to be. Like, there used to be factories everywhere. Now they're starting to go and, like, move into India and, like, certain parts of Africa. And they realize that, hey, we need to go and change some of this stuff up. And they're starting to go and do a crackdown, too, because, there was just blatant corruption for the longest time in China. Like, people could easily get through their, great firewall and get through it, and they can post whatever they want. They've started cracking down on that. I think he probably views Mao Zedong he probably wants to emulate him in certain ways. And I feel like that's the way he's been doing. A lot more crackdowns. But seeing how he reacted in Hong Kong, where he didn't just run over people with tanks, because he probably realizes he can't do that now because of how many other countries will just back out of China altogether if they did that. He's put in a bit of a pickle, where he needs to go maintain the power of the government while also dealing with this international stuff. And I think what might end up happening is he might just end up like going more back into the way things used to be and being more self-reliant and not being the big international powerhouse that they used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to follow this. We'll keep everybody up to date on it, because this is just a week of stuff we've seen, but I think this is just a preview of what you're going to see much more in the future.
You see that stuff going on with Tulsi Gabbard and Hillary Clinton?
I heard something about it, but I'm not going to lie. I don't.
Clinton called her a Russian asset.
Everyone I don't like is a Russian asset.
Yeah, and then she said that like they were supposed to go and speak at this like women in politics forum, and then Hillary Clinton backed out because Tulsi and this other person was on there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like it's so funny. Like, if you are against the establishment, Democrat, Republican, you're automatically a Russian.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so upsetting. Like, I remember I saw this one YouTube channel, and he was this dude from Russia, and he's not really fond of Putin or anything, but he knows like this stuff, like the Internet Research Agency, and like 99% of stuff that the Internet Research people, like the troll farms, deal with, it's like internal Russian stuff. They don't really mess around with the U.S. stuff that much. Like, I mean, sure, they probably will, but that's mostly to make money. But like, I'm surprised we don't have any internal one like that we really know of. Like, no one's talking about it. Like, that'd be a good idea to go make some money. Create your own like troll farm with like a domestic troll farm. Get a bunch of like high school students and like college.
Oh, we know somebody knows some high school students. I hear he can slide into their DMs for us.
But no, like seriously, like just like people who didn't go to college, like as an entry level job, like we'll pay you like $8 an hour to go, or like we'll pay you per like comment or something. Like, why don't we have that over here? Finding like the middle of like middle of nowhere, like place with a decent internet connection, like at a McDonald's or something. Just have them like troll people and do like pro Trump stuff. Like, see, I'd love to make a company like that. Just like make political troll farms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's the Democrats probably have that somewhere, but it's not like as open as the internet research.
Isn't
agency.
4chan our troll farm?
Well, no, but they're not paid.
Oh.
Like an actual like organization paying people to go and troll. Like to go and like shell for a candidate or something, or
Yeah.
downplay someone else.
Well, what Tulsi Gabbard did say, for anybody that didn't see her tweets, I did not look at it till right now. I heard a part of it, but Tulsi Gabbard does not interest me at all. I'm not gonna lie, she does nothing for me because I know she has no chance in winning or in anything in the Democratic Party. If she became a Republican, I would start being interested because she actually would be on, she would have a medium which she could win through, but she's mostly a progressive, far lefty in a lot of ways. But there are a few things that deviate.
Well, I don't know, because I know, like, you're talking about Sargon. If you liked her or something. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Democrats in general.
Well, a lot of people on the right like her because she's the best of the Democrats compared to all the others running and looks the best to conservatives. That's the key. She's like the least crazy, but she still has some crazy stuff. Like she believes in UBI. She believes in Medicare for all. Two things I'm totally against, and conservatives should be against. But let's be honest, the guys like her because she's hot, and she is anti-war.
She's a veteran. She's a veteran over there, so she actually something. She's not nearly as radical as anyone else. Like she's the only one I stand a chance against Trump if it went right now. But there's no way she's going to win.
Democrats
anyway.
hate her. Democrats hate her. You look at all the polls. You look at what people say. They hate her.
Because she's a moderate. And they don't want moderates for primaries. They want to find the most radical person, like a Pete Buttigieg or a like Beto. And the funny thing is, like, Pete Buttigieg is apparently a more moderate one now. Like, how is that? Like, I was in Cheats the other day, and he was like talking about like make it so that it won't be illegal to give someone AIDS without telling them, like stuff like that. And it's just like, how is this moderate? There's like, oh, we want to fight stigma. Like, no, there's a reason there's a stigma for HIV AIDS. You don't want to mess around with that. It's even if you don't like that, there are ways you're going to treat it, but it's still going to cost you and the taxpayers so much money to deal with something that you would not have to deal with normally. It's one of the most vile viruses you could get. Like, I feel really bad for anyone that gets AIDS, because that's, it used to be a death sentence, but now, you have to be constantly medicated. There's no treatment really that they have that 100% gets rid of it. It's not good, but they want to go and treat it like, oh, it's fine. You have AIDS. That's fine. Like, we need to work on like getting rid of it, stop people who have AIDS from giving it to other people who don't have AIDS. Like, I think that should be the what we should be looking at.
Yeah, and I want to again read Tulsi Gabbard's tweet here, so I'll read the full thing that got 277,000 likes and 76,000 retweets. She said, "Great. Thank you, at Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has been sickening the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there has been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know it was always you. Through your proxies and powerful allies in the corporate media and war machine, afraid of the threat I pose. It's now clear that this primary is between you and me. Don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly." This is what she should have been tweeting the entire time. The problem with this tweet, the biggest problem is she tweeted this way too late in the game. The nominee is, the people that could be the nominee are already popular enough. They've already got enough support. If she had done this right out of the gate, like right when she announced her candidacy, that would have made her a more likely nominee. Would she still have been nominated? No, but she would have had a better chance. That's my problem. It's always been with Tulsi Gabbard. She does not know how to be an effective politician. She doesn't know how to win. And like stuff like that. I do like that and agree with everything she said, but it does not excite me. I know a lot of people on the right are gonna love that and get excited by it. I know no Democrats will be, maybe some will be, but it's not something that's. And also, she's talking about Hillary Clinton, who's not even in the race. She needs to be attacking Joe Biden. She needs to be attacking Elizabeth Warren. Instead, she attacks.
Joe Biden has a chance right now. There's no point in it because he's got so much, like, just dirt. Like, not only has his son been implicated in all this nonsense, but the whole like sexual harassment stuff.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. He's still the one that's polling the highest. You need to take him down quickly. And then you need to take down the next one. This is what Trump did. Whenever there was a threat, he attacked them, punched back 10 times harder, and took them down. He took down Jeb. He took down Marco. He took down all these guys quickly. And the problem with Tulsi is she's looking at the wrong target. She's doing one good thing, which is differentiating herself from the old Democratic Party. But she's not attacking the people she needs to be attacking, which is the front runners. She needs to be attacking Pocahontas. She needs to be attacking Biden and take them down. Then she can attack Trump. But I noticed on her Twitter she'd be saying stupid stuff about Trump, and I'm like, you're not doing this right. And like I said, this is the one interesting tweet she's ever had. Everything else not interest me at all. I'm not trying to say that to be just overtly harsh, but that is how I view Tulsi Gabbard. She does nothing for me. She's just hot. That's it. And has been and is a veteran and has served. That's literally it.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably the one that would have worried me the most, but there's no chance of her winning the nomination right now. And I think what she has the potential to do is divide the Democrats.
That's possible, but I think the socialists do a better job at that. The AOCs, they are what are dividing the party more than anything, because you still have the old boomers, they're the moderates, still sort of pushing back against this uprising young socialist revolution, their party. Once the old people are gone, it's going to go farther left, it's going to go full socialist, and it's going to be an all-out battle every election for quite a bit between socialism and nationalism. And when I say nationalism, I don't mean white nationalism, for anybody that assumes that. I'm just saying typical America first Trumpism. That's what's going to be from now on. You're going to see guys like Matt Gaetz become more popular, and AOC is absolutely going to run for president. I think Matt Gaetz will absolutely run for president too. He is a rising star that nobody's talking enough about. Matt Gaetz. That guy gets it. He's smart, tough, good looking enough, got charisma, and his I don't want to say social media game, but his speaking abilities, his appearances on shows are great. He's got good game. Keep an eye on him.
Can AOC run for president?
Eventually.
I didn't know if she, I don't know.
She's not of age yet, but she's born here, of course. She was born in New York, so that's really the biggest qualification you need to be president. And she just has to hit the right age, which I think is 36, right?
Something like that, 35 or 30. I thought it was 30. I thought it was like a nice round number, like 35.
Yeah. So when 2024 comes around, that's going to be the interesting election. 2020 is landslide Trump, but 2024 is going to be interesting. And then 2028, those two elections are going to be fascinating to watch.
I hope I have a job by then.
I hope I have a job by then.
You'll have a job, but I was telling you, go to grad school, man.
I don't want to become poor.
Well, you don't have any student debt right now.
Grad school will do that for me.
Yeah, but you'll be having a grad school degree. There's a difference. You'll have student debt, but you also have a grad school degree. What do
I need to get at grad school? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna
research?
Research for what? Advertising?
Yeah.
I mean, there is research that, but that's
a job anywhere as a manager.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that easy.
Research.
Well, I mean, you'll get there's a lot of jobs for MBA stuff, dude. It's pretty popular, and you'll have that, and you can do that.
I can't get an MBA because I gotta take accounting courses, and I couldn't pass that class. I had to drop it. It's the only class I ever dropped.
It's probably a bad professor.
It's a combination of bad professor and impossible material.
Well, you already took it. You almost took the whole class once now, so you should probably know it. Decent enough where, if you do the class again.
I said that to somebody else that had to retake classes, and it turns out it's not that easy.
I don't know, like, I think if you try hard enough, you could absolutely do something good with that. Like, I think having a
What?
master's degree in something that'll help you, and especially since you don't have any student debt right now, like, it's so much easier now before you have a family, before you have a house, to go and take a graduate school degree. Like, this is the best time in your life. You're never going to be able to have this sort of ease of doing it now as you would in the future.
What are you laughing about over here, T?
Like, you work hard and then you can accomplish as much as you can. Yeah, not in college. Not here. Sometimes you gotta cry.
Well, if you don't have to pay for it, geez, that's so easy. I wish my parents didn't make me take student loans, because I'd be so, like, I have so much money right now, I could buy a Porsche.
Mm.
I would probably be able to actually afford the monthly payments on that. I'd live at some cheapo apartment, drive, a car than a house. That's how you do it. No, but seriously, like, if you don't have student debt, may as well just go to grad school, get a little bit. That'd be the same amount of debt that I have right now. So much better off if you get a graduate degree in something useful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of at a point where, as much as I love some parts of college, like the radio, Turning Point, stuff like that, I don't want to do any more school. I really don't.
You
Why?
say that now, but the real world isn't like, there's.
I know it's not great. I know.
It's not the same. Like, right now, it's almost like high school 2.0.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about paying taxes. You don't have to worry about paying your cable bill or your house. There's a lot of stuff you don't have to worry about. But at the same time, I just studying for stuff, doing projects, writing papers. I'm done with it. I'm just done with it.
Dude, studying's not that bad. You have to do studying probably even once you get an actual job.
I don't want to study anymore.
You probably have to do it no matter what, because you always want to be getting, like, certifications yourself. It's like, it's not just, you do college and that's the last time they do, like, studying or things.
I don't think I'm going to have to get certifications in advertising.
They might have, like, an advertiser certification. And who knows if you actually do advertising too? Like, a lot of people, they'll go to college for one thing and they'll do something completely different. So that's another thing. Like, my brother, he got some, like, BS, like, degree in, like, video game making. And,
Wait, that's a degree?
Bachelor of Science
and
in
like video game design or something like that. And that's what he did. And he ended up, like, working. He does, like, SQL databases. Like, he's I don't know. He does some, like, command line stuff. I mean, I do what my major was. But I took an actual useful major. So
well, a lot of people don't go into what their major is, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that is a bad thing. Why would you go and take college classes if you don't want to, like, do what your college classes were?
Well, because I don't necessarily want to, let's say, advertise.
Network, though.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Let's say I'm doing advertising, okay? But I don't want for the next, the rest of my life just working in an ad agency. I want to do other things with those skills. Majors should be about skills, not, like, you need to collect skills that can be applied to different types of jobs. Like, you don't have to go down this one path.
Yeah, but you generally probably want to do something that you study your classes for, because you're probably pretty decent at it by the time you're done, ideally.
Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Like, not everybody's, like, made to be good at these specific majors. You might be just a little different from this major. Like, I'm an ad major, but sometimes I'm better at organizing or event planning or graphics.
It would probably be a smart thing to do, because you could, like, if you have an MBA, you could do, like, anything. And then you make good money. You have, like, any sort of management position. Management makes it, like, $6-figure dollars.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna hire me right out of college as a manager.
Yes, well, I know people, like.
But I don't have any experience.
Well, yeah, I know people who are, like, they had a cybersecurity master's degree, hired right out of college at, like, a good salary.
And they were hired as managers.
No, not as managers, but they didn't get an MBA. They had, like, a cybersecurity related master's degree.
Have you known anybody that's been hired right out of the gate as a manager? I hope not, because that'd be terrible. I would never hire somebody right out of college as my manager.
Well, I mean, it would still give you an edge up, and you could do different things. Like, you have an MBA, they could go and throw you, like, as a assistant or something, like a management assistant, or, like, I don't know, like, I'll have to go and do some research into this. But, like, it's good. Like, it will help you, and that'll help you, like, move Like once you get somewhere, like you'd be like, hey, he already has an MBA. Let's go and make my man. So it'll give you that, like, versus where, you know, if you didn't have that, it would hurt. I mean, I would do it. I would go, maybe not an MBA even, but like some master's degree in something that'd be useful to what you want to do. But the most important thing you have to go and find out, like with this whole college meme, is like find out what you actually want to do.
College meme. Yeah, I don't know what I want to do though. I really don't.
And that's why I said an MBA is probably a good choice, because you can do so much different things with it.
Maybe, but I just don't think I could do it. I really don't.
Don't downplay yourself, man. You can do anything, put your mind to it. You know, college is pretty easy.
Okay, can I be good at, you know, can I become an astronaut?
Probably not, but you know, that's a science. Like MBA is not really even science, it's business.
Yeah, but I'm not good at business classes, I've learned. I'm really not that good at it.
Well, yeah, but there's more than just like, you know, accounting and.
Well, I took Econ 102 and I didn't do too hot in that. Like I got a B, I think, in the class or something like that. But those exams were hard.
Yeah, you want to go You want to go and challenge yourself.
Okay, but I should challenge myself in areas that I'm.
Like I've seen you manage people before. Like you have that skill set.
I fired somebody before.
Like you've done that stuff before. Like you have potential. You just need to go and, like, you know, you go and freshen up. You need to sharpen your you know, quote unquote metaphorical knife on how to, like, on the stuff that you're not good at, and then the other stuff, you know, just learn more and get a larger depth of that. That's what we need to go and do, and that's what college, you know, it kind of showcases.
Yeah, I guess. Any last things we want to talk about or say? Because we have a few seconds left here.
Man, that's the most important thing that college, you know, you should know by the end what you want. You don't want to be clueless and graduating. If you can't, and that's why I'm saying, if you can't find a job within, like, a job that's like a college degree required job, like 3 months to like 6 months after you're done graduating, go to grad school.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do that. You gotta do something, man. If you can't find a job, go and be more educated to go find an even better job than you. As long as you don't do some BS major on it.
Like medieval studies.
Yeah, like something like that, or like poli-sci, or like a philosophy degree.
Don't do philosophy. Unless you want to be a professor, that's the only thing you can do. Be a philosophy professor.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some people can actually make it happen. Like I've known people who can do it, but it's
rare. It's few and far between.
I mean, it's just not easy. Like, why would you make your life harder? Find a degree that you'd like to go and do. Find something STEM major, preferably, but you know, you're already kind of down that path. But you know, that's what you could do too. So you could go and, like, maybe you'd even double major. You're already taking some of those IST classes. Like, how they've done.
Oh god, web design's the only class that's kind of useful. This telecom class, we just talked about how IP addresses and MAC addresses work, and it's totally confusing, makes no sense, and is useless.
Dude, I deal with that stuff every day.
Really?
Yeah, I deal with IP addresses every single day. Like, it helps you it'll show you the background stuff that most, like, normies don't know.
That's what I've gotten a sense of.
Internet actually works, because it's not just magic. You plug in computer and then boom, you know, you have your IP addresses over here, and that's, you translate it into a domain, and that's how things work nowadays. You know, there's a time when they didn't have things like that. You'd have to, like, know the IP addresses probably. But there's a lot of cool things you can do with that, and you know, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. If you can't make this work, do something tech related, because I'm sure you'll find something there.
Yeah.
They make good money.
Yeah.
There's one app called Blind, and they'll tell you, like, all this stuff, like the average salaries of these people. Like, start out at Google, they make like $200,000 a year. It's like right from college.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.